Welcome to the College of Complexes. And welcome to the infamous debate on Wal-Mart Pro and Wal-Mart Con.
Unfortunately, but I do have another one.
The debate format tonight is going to be 10 minutes for the pro stance, then 10 minutes for the anti-stance on Wal-Mart, then a rebuttal of 5 minutes pro, another 5 minutes anti, another round of 5 minutes pro and 5 minutes anti. There'll be 10 minutes for wrap-up on the pro side, another 10 minutes for the wrap-up on the anti side. If Paul could demonstrate our timing lights in the back, there will be a green light on when 1 minute of your time is remaining. There will be a yellow light when 30 seconds of your time is remaining. And there will be a red light when you're done, and you should hand it off to the other person. There are two rules in the College of Complexes. One is we only allow one fool at a time, and that's generally the one with the microphone. The second is no personal attacks. That includes your mother.
What about your mother?
Well, as Charlie says, but to start our infamous tradition of the college, we will commence with 10 minutes of announcements. And the first one is today it's going to be videotaped again, posted on our archive. Posted on our archive.org website. And if you could, you killed my power again, dude.
Killed his power, dude.
That was gnarly.
Yes, we have a little bit of trouble with
That's the first time I ever agreed with it.
Anyway, if there's people wanting to make announcements, come on up to the front and go ahead and make them.
I have three announcements. The first one is that 2011 is coming. So if you need an appointment book, we have to take one of those. If you're interested in becoming a member of Jane Addams Senior Caucus, I got a good deal for you. It's free between now and July 1st. You fill out this green form and hand it to me. If you look at the green form and you can't read it, turn it over. You're reading the Russian side. The third announcement I have is that there is going to be a major mayoral forum. It is going to be December 14th, which is a Tuesday. It's going to be at 5:30. The doors open. 6:30. The program starts. It's going to be at UIC Forum, 725 West Roosevelt. Yeah, West Roosevelt. There's going to be transportation over there. So if you're interested in that, grab one of these forms and you got an RSVP. But there will be transportation from the north side.
Thank you, and next please.
We'll have to all fucking
You can get a salmon color form.
third day of business.
Okay, well, I just wanted to announce that Bob Haas, Lynn Taylor of the People's Law Office, and Bill Hampton, Fred Hampton's brother, are speaking at Barbara's Bookstore on the UIC campus Friday, December 3rd at 6:30. That's 1218 South Halsted. And this is about the assassination of Fred Hampton and the police torture trial of John Birch. Hassan Taylor will give personal historical perspective on social justice and police torture. And that's the eve of the anniversary of Fred Hampton's assassination 41 years ago. So I hope you will come and support these people. They fought long and hard to expose the police in the Fred Hampton case, and they fought many years for the conviction of John Birch, too.
Is there any other announcements? Come on up to the front.
I can do it from here.
Oh, you can't be seen in the camera, that's
I
why.
don't want to be seen. They're looking for
We
me.
have a few copies of Chicago Dispatch of the November edition if anybody wants.
All right.
Here's my announcement straight out of this morning's newspaper. Tribune. The fate of the largest job bias lawsuit in the nation's history, a claim that Wal-Mart Stores Incorporated shortchanged women in pay and promotions for many years, hinges on whether the Supreme Court will let the class action case go through trial. This is an announcement.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Everyone makes announcements out of the paper, and I'll do it too. The court is likely to announce as soon as Monday whether it will hear the retail giant's appeal. Business lawyers and civil rights advocates are closely following the Wal-Mart case for its implications for class action lawsuits. This may sound like just a technical procedural issue, but because of the economics of it, class action certification is often the most important issue to be decided, said Washington lawyer Roy Inglis Jr. If the High Court permits the Wal-Mart case to proceed as a class action, it will put enormous pressure on the retailer to settle, he said. The plaintiffs have not specified the damages they would seek, but it could mount into billions of dollars. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and several large corporations have joined with Wal-Mart, the nation's largest employer, in urging the High Court to hear the appeal and to restrict the use of class action claims. They argue it is unfair to permit plaintiffs' lawyers to lump together thousands of employees and to rely on statistics to prove illegal discrimination. But civil rights advocates say the only effective way to challenge systemic discrimination in a large company is to bring a claim on behalf of all. If the Supreme Court takes this case, it will signal this business-friendly court is hostile to class actions against corporate defendants, said Stanford Law School Professor Deborah Henson. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court, I'm reading my announcement. Do you mind?
Yeah, we mind because the announcement, you're engaging in political discourse.
Earlier this month, the Supreme Court heard another case that could affect class action suits. Lawyers filed a suit against AT&T Mobility alleging that its ads promising free cell phones were fraudulent. AT&T argued that a fine print agreement said all claims must go through arbitration, not a class action suit. If the High Court agrees with AT&T, consumer advocates fear it could mean the end of class action claims involving products and services. The Wal-Mart case began in 2001 when lawyers sued on behalf of 6 current and former employees led by Eddie Dukes, agreed at the Wal-Mart in Pittsburgh, California. They alleged the retailer had policies that allowed male managers to award higher pay and better jobs to men. They sought lost wages and benefits for a class of more than 1.5 million women who had worked at Wal-Mart and Sam's Club stores since 1998.
Okay, you're cut off at this point. You are cut off, sir. You are cut off, sir.
I'm not going to stop.
You are cut off, sir. You can keep talking, but there's other people who have announcements. That should be done during the rebuttal period.
This is not a rebuttal.
That should be done during the rebuttal period. Well, the moderator has just cut you off. You can bring it up during the rebuttal period.
An outlier based on salary data for men and women employees for Joseph Sellers.
Is there any more announcements at this point? Let's clap him off stage, guys. Come on. I know, that's so. All right. Are there any more announcements at this point? Go ahead, come on up.
Discriminatory decisions were made in 3,400 stores. The company's policies forbid discrimination and support diversity, said Wal-Mart lawyer Theodore Boutros Jr.
Thank you.
Hey, Walter, we're probably going to talk about those cases.
Okay.
So thank you for the announcement. You're right on the money, and we will get into some of those others. I'll just make one quick announcement. For those of you that don't know me, I've given some presentations here over the last 3 years. As a hobby, I translate books, take a wheelbarrow full of paper, 15 or 20 books on it, and translate that mass into a one-page cliff notes that somebody can read in 5 minutes. My brother and I have been running what we call the Northwest Information Service for the last 25 years or so. we specialize in helping people learn about blacked out subjects. That's things that reporters can get fired for writing about in America. Things that are front page news all over the world, but are not on any page of the news here in America. So I carry a couple $100 worth of books with me to save people the trip to the bookstore. When I sell out of them, I just order more. Here's probably the most explosive book you can own today is this thing called Censored News. Censored 2011 from Project Censored out of Sonoma State. It has the top 25 blacked out stories of the year in it. And this project's been up and running for 34 years. Nobody knows about it. The subject tonight, Wal-Mart and its effect on America, has been part of that. Here's a small book. It's called How Wal-Mart is Destroying America and the World. And we'll be talking about that tonight. I've got a few copies of that. They're $11. It's a huge summary of stories of disasters all over the country where Walmart has wiped out communities and towns with their predatory practices.
Yeah, I know what that one.
Here's, just give me 30 more seconds. For those of you that haven't been following any of our debates over the last 3 years on AIDS, here's a book called AIDS, Opium, Diamonds, and Empire, written by an African-American doctor named Nancy Turner Banks. She summarized the whole ball of wax. This book came out in 2010. It talks about how the AIDS epidemic is over. Other things are making people sick. Those things are treatable and curable. Anybody wants to know about that, come see me afterwards. And I've got a few copies of this thing called The Great American Stick-Up. Anybody that wants to know about the financial disaster of the last few years, it's in this book. So, without further ado, we'll get started. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Let's see. All right, I actually have an announcement. I was going to bring the Sunday New York Times and read it to you all.
Read the phone.
All right. Let's see here. If some of you got copies of Indies Times magazine, I'll have some more next week. Please reciprocate and subscribe and support our local lefty magazine, as I do, even though I get 50 copies of it. So I'll have more next week if you didn't get one. If you came here on public transportation as I did instead of gas-guzzling SUV, on Monday, December the 6th, we'll be meeting of CTA citizens taking action, advocates of public transit here. Let's see what else. You guys want to rock and roll. Although I'm not a capitalist, I will give an advertisement for next week's program. Actually, we have added another speaker. It's kind of poignant to tonight's topic, but on February the 12th, we're going to have maybe even a panel of speakers on are there going to be any jobs left in the United States in the future. But there's some jobs with justice will be here. Okay, and let's see, next week, Michael Flores, who's been here many times, a few times. He claims to have the largest audience in the college. But nevertheless, he's going to talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis. What really happened is not what you think happened. Anyhow, and by the way, I'll put a plug in for December the 18th. I will be doing a PowerPoint presentation on transportation of the future. All right, thank you.
And I've had a good look at Charlie's PowerPoint, and it is good.
Yeah.
I'd like to first thank our gentleman who provided the microphone tonight for some good audio, my friend Paul Racino, who's going to be acting as timer and cameraman. And I'd now like to introduce our moderator, Karina Schushenheim. Karina.
Thank you, Tim. Tonight I'm very proud to present a debate between two entrepreneurs. Speaking on behalf of Walmart is Michele Brock, who is the founder of Michele Brock Enterprises. She'll be arguing in favor of the Walmarts in Chicago. She wrote, she was born and raised in Chicago, primarily in the Roseland community. She attended Fenker High School for the first 2 years and completed high school at Curie High School, class of '81. She is currently finishing up her last semester at Chicago State University, the Board of Governors program, in anticipation of participating in a commencement ceremony this December. Her work experience includes working as an administrative assistant for top-level management, including deputy superintendent, a deputy commissioner, and a couple of executive directors, and most recently a vice president. She has extensive PC and internet skills. She's currently the entrepreneur and visionary of the Michele Brock Enterprises, which includes a career in acting, an associate for prepaid legal services, a beach body coach, and a website developer, social network, marketing consultant, and reseller for internet services and products. And this evening, she'll be debating Lyndon P. Anderson, who we all know as Andy. Since 1980, Andy Anderson has been running the Northwest Information Services. He condenses massive volumes of publications into digests in order to make the information available to the public service. And through this, he has been researching Wal-Mart for 8 years. He says no, it's actually 15, but he was warned to make tonight's debate relevant to Chicago. He is a professionally, for the past 30 years, he and his brother have owned a heating and air conditioning shop that serves the northwest suburbs of Chicago. He is an Army veteran who served 2 tours in Vietnam, and we're happy to have him. So right now, Michele, you have 10 minutes. The floor is yours. I'm going to call out when you have 1 minute left.
When does the timer start?
As soon as you start talking.
So if I don't never talk, it won't start.
With the speaker's first word or utterance or gesture indicating start.
Where did you get that rule?
Toastmasters.
All aboard.
That's his rule.
All right. Are Chicago's 3 new Wal-Mart stores good for the city? Let's see. The living wage issue. Living wage is a term used to describe the minimum hourly wage necessary for an individual to meet basic needs, including shelter, housing, and or other incidentals such as clothing and nutrition for an extended period of time or a lifetime. This concept differs from the minimum wage in that the latter is set by law and may fail to meet the requirements of a living wage. It differs somewhat from basic needs in that the basic needs model usually measures a minimum level of consumption without regard for the source of the income. A related concept is that of a family wage, one sufficient to not only to live on oneself, but also to raise a family, though these notions may be conflated. Minimum wage is the lowest hourly, daily, or monthly wage that employers may legally pay to employ employees or workers. Equivalent, it is the lowest wage at which workers may sell their labor. Although minimum wage laws are in effect in a great many jurisdictions, there are no differences of opinion about the benefits and drawbacks of a minimum wage. The federal minimum wage is handled by the Fair Labor and Standards Act. This is managed by the U.S. Department of Labor. The U.S. Congress has to officially vote to increase minimum wage on a national level. In other words, they have to vote to amend the Fair Labor and Standards Act. States can impose a minimum wage higher than the federal minimum wage. U.S. Department of Labor. The federal minimum wage for covered non-exempt employees is $7.25 per hour, effective July 24, 2009. Illinois Department of Labor. The minimum wage law in the state of Illinois guarantees a minimum wage of $8.25 per hour for workers 18 years of age and older. Workers under 18 may be paid 50 cents per hour less than the adult minimum wage. June 21st, 2010, City Hall reporter Fran Spillman of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote an article titled "Wal-Mart Offers $8.75 an Hour Wage. Union Balks." Wal-Mart offered Monday to pay its Chicago employees a minimum urban wage of $8.75 an hour to break the stalemate that has stalled its $1 billion plan to build several dozen Chicago stores over the next 5 years. After 6 years of stonewalling labor's demand that Wal-Mart pays its employees a living wage, the world's largest retailer yielded to pressure from Mayor Daley to establish a new standard for Chicago. The $8.75 an hour minimum Chicago wage would be 50 cents above Illinois' minimum wage, but far short of the $11.03 an hour unions have demanded. George Ramirez, Secretary-Treasurer of the Chicago Federation of Labor, promptly rejected the offer outlined during the second face-to-face meeting between Wal-Mart and organized labor and the first since May 3rd. It's 50 cents above the minimum wage. The big box ordinance was $11.03 an hour plus $3 in benefits. Folks in our coalition are outraged that they wasted our time for a month and a half and came up with something they knew would not be acceptable, Ramirez said. This is a straight muscle play by Wal-Mart to ram this down the city council's throat. Aldermen are going to see through it. Zoning Committee Chairman Danny Salas of the 25th Ward was disappointed that the wage concession was not enough to break the stalemate. It's 12,000 jobs, 2,000 of them construction jobs. It's a dozens of stores in full desert wasteland, and if the unions look at it, they should reconsider their position, says Salas, a Wal-Mart supporter. During the City Hall news conference that was more like a pep rally, Alderman Anthony Bill, 9th Ward, tried to turn up the heat on his city council colleagues. Is there an alderman here today who's going to turn their back on 12,000 jobs here in the city of Chicago? I don't think so, he said. Hank Mullany, president of Wal-Mart North, said the company is prepared to spend $1 billion over the next 5 years building several dozen Chicago stores that create 10,000 permanent jobs and 2,000 construction jobs. They would range from 141 square foot supercenters to 60,000 to 80,000 square foot mid-sized stores and food and pharmacy stores with just 25,000 square feet. There was an editorial in the Chicago Sun-Times on Monday, June 7, 2010, titled "Anti-Walmart Study Just Doesn't Add Up." However, the point that I wanted to bring out in that article says, we don't doubt that when a Walmart opens, other stores nearby are forced out of business. That has been documented elsewhere in the U.S., and the Chicago researchers found the businesses closest to the Austin Walmart were at the greatest risk of closure. It's worth noting, though, that those lost jobs paid low wages, an average of $9.02 an hour in 2008, according to the UIC Loyola study. That compares with Walmart's reported full-time average wage of $11.77 in Austin in 2010. The verdict is still out on Walmart's impact on job creation in Chicago, with this study offering little insight, but it does help clarify one point. Walmart alone cannot transform a community, despite what Walmart boosters like to say. Rather, it can be a catalyst for further economic development, the single best reason we strongly support more Walmarts in Chicago, particularly in underdeserved neighborhoods. The two South Sides in Pullman and Chatham under consideration for a Walmart cannot attract other retailers without an anchor such as Walmart. In fact, no other anchor store has even expressed interest. And Walmart stores at both locations would bring groceries, merchandise, and decent paying, not great, but decent jobs to neighborhoods that need and want them. This is especially true at the Pullman Park, the development the City Council put off on Thursday. That project would transform a barren former industrial site with retail, 800 new homes, a hotel, and a recreation center. There is little risk of displacing existing businesses because there are almost none there. Almost no retail, no restaurants, and no grocers. Walmart is neither evil nor the Messiah, But there's little doubt that struggling Chicago neighborhoods would be better off with one than without the would be better off with one than without one. The career opportunities vary, recruitment varies. Wal-Mart benefits include health and wellness benefits. There's a list of those, financial benefits. And then they also talk about diversity. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that not all of the career opportunities are salaried at minimum wage. In fact, minimum wage generally applies to entry-level positions and is applicable to individuals who have minimal to no skills and or experiences and whose education is at the high school level or below. If an individual falls within this category, Wal-Mart offers them the opportunity to work, gain the skills and experiences that they need to elevate themselves from minimum wage jobs. Just because they initially accept a minimum wage job anywhere, not just at Wal-Mart, this does not mean that they are doomed to remain in minimum wage paying positions for the rest of their lives. There is no company that will provide a wage based solely on the need of the potential employee. It is not until you're being recruited for your experiences and high level of education that you are able to negotiate your salary. Anyone feeling like the minimum wage here in the state of Illinois should be increased to the $11.03 per hour that was proposed to Wal-Mart in answer to providing more of a living wage, they should see their United States Congressman, not point fingers at Wal-Mart, who is addressing the need for jobs in this country, let alone this city. You change the law, the companies legally have to follow suit.
1 minute.
Other issues noted of anti-Walmarters, the environment, how Walmart business model is detrimental to our planet. There are companies globally that have environmental issues. If there is an environmental issue with Walmart's business model, then it should be addressed, but not at the risk of losing jobs. Always low wages, poverty level wages make life extremely difficult for Walmart, 1.4 million workers. This issue has already been addressed. Walmart pays approximately 50 cents above minimum wage. As for the living wage argument, the lawsuit that can be changed to increase minimum wage to be proposed living wage need to be addressed by our U.S. congressmen. Increase the minimum wage, companies have to increase salaries to reach the law's criteria of that increase in wages. Walmart still insures barely over half its employees on the company plan. Walmart announces, is that time?
No, you have 30 seconds.
Walmart announces additional health benefits improvements and timeline. In regards to Walmart continually failing to pay every worker for every hour work, there are 61 other companies with wage and hour overtime pay issues. However, in response to what the debate is about, are the 3 Walmarts good for the city of Chicago? Yes, they are. They bring jobs and they bring revenue to the city. All the other issues can be dealt with legally, but again, not at the detriment of those jobs. Thank you.
Ready for the double
Good 8 hours job.
My time starts now?
Yes.
Okay. It's a good introduction. Good introduction. Everywhere I've gone to give presentations on different kinds of things, we see that people with the same values and desires for their kids and grandkids are separated by the level of knowledge on a subject. We're not separated between Democrats and Republicans, or between rich and poor so much. Well, top to bottom, yes. But today, you can't have a good debate on whether or not nicotine is addictive in cigarettes. The answer has been known for some time, so we wouldn't be having a debate on that. The only reason we're having a debate on this issue tonight is that the American media does not inform the people on issues that cut into the profits of predatory billionaire-owned companies. And Walmart is one of the biggest. There are so many different points that it's hard to even know where to begin.
one of the things that people claim is that Walmart provides, you know, a living wage, or even a decent wage. Here's from Tuesday, December 4th. It's almost 9 years ago, in 2001. Chicago Sun-Times published an article called "The Federal Poverty Level Out of Touch." And the gist of this article is that in Cook County, in addressing Chicago, for a woman with a child and needing to have transportation, get back and forth to work, for someone to support themselves and a child in Cook County, you need to make between $18.60 and $20.87, to almost $21 an hour to break even. Just to survive outside of, to get out of a homeless shelter, you need something close to $40,000 a year if you're trying to support a family. So to claim that anybody can live on 50 cents more than minimum wage, which has been considered ridiculously outdated for 15 to 20 years now, that claim doesn't hold up to the light of day. Walmart has genius PR people, and they spend hundreds of millions of dollars softening up the population in various areas where they want to build their super centers. Walmart stores, basically the Walmart business model is not one of bringing benefits to a community. Walmart, a store can be considered like a big vacuum cleaner hose into that community that just sucks money out of the community down to Arkansas, to the 5 billionaire owners that own Walmart. It's a net worth of about $100 billion. Walmart uses slave labor around the world, or close to slave labor, wherever they can, to maintain what they call everyday low prices in their stores, when the prices aren't really lower than they are at Target or any of the other stores. One of the main complaints, hold on. One of the main complaints that surfaces over and over again, and is talked about in this book, how Walmart is destroying America and the world, is the fact that the business model of Walmart is to work your employees absolutely as hard as you can, pay them as little as you can, avoid paying health benefits if you can, and that money, that savings, goes into the owner's bank accounts, where an owner can say, I can't afford to pay a living wage of $11 an hour because I only got $20 billion in the bank. I need another $20–25 billion at least before I can pay these people half of what it costs to live in the Cook County of Chicago and get out of a homeless shelter. What's wrong with this picture here? We're looking at some very, very slick PR that Walmart puts out when they claim that they can't support a community alone. Walmart does not support communities. Walmart, for every job Walmart provides, a community loses a job and a half. There's a net loss of jobs when Walmart moves into any area, because they provide only minimum wage jobs, unless, of course, they're bragging about 50 cents over the minimum wage. It's like American car companies bragging that their new SUV gets 19.5 miles a gallon rather than 17, when the rest of the world has gone on to 50, 60 mile per gallon hybrids. Walmart, it's just, okay. Another thing, the studies have all been done. Community after community has learned that once a super center has, people have learned what's happening, they begin to drop off and begin shopping elsewhere. Then after a lot of businesses around the area, that people were going to for their needs, once all those businesses are put out of business, then Walmart raises prices. They don't give you the everyday low price unless there's a Target close by, and then they will compete with Target until that store moves, or a Jewel, or a Dominick's. But once those businesses, any kind of competition is gone, then they just start raising prices, and prices are higher than they used to be. It's because they can. It's the business model of maximizing profits And all the money Walmart doesn't help out local communities with money in local banks to be loaned out or anything. It's transferred every night right out of the bank to Bentonville, Arkansas. Another thing that is missed, a lot of people don't talk about, is that Walmart is foaming at the mouth, rabid anti-union. They will not permit unions to get a toehold or even think about organizing anywhere in any stores in America, because unions have a history of fighting for workers' rights. You can't just fire somebody because you don't like them. If they have a union and union representation, it's a lot harder to abuse the workforce. And also, you can't just erase 4 hours off somebody's time card. If they work 38 hours this week and you just erase 34 and they get a paycheck that's 4 hours short, unions will fight for that. But if you have no union, there's nothing a worker can do. Walmart steals from their suppliers. They steal from their employees in all kinds of ways. Gary and I use the term the weasel factor. They're always trying to weasel money off of legitimate costs. Somebody ships them a train load of $100 million worth of electric drills and all kinds of tools and stuff. Well, they have a person that their job is to claim that 94% of the shipment arrived intact, but the other 6% didn't get to us. There's a growing list of big companies that manufacture things that will not sell to Walmart because they've been ripped off and burned too many times. And that's a major, major ongoing problem. And as Walmart gets bigger, the middle class is pushed farther and farther down the line. There's some articles over here that were on a website called Common Dreams, one of the best alternate news sites that give you the main gist of what's happening that we don't see on Fox News and all the other news stations. But there's the billionaires that own and control our present government, aided by the Chamber of Commerce and Walmart. Their goal is to change conditions in America to eliminate the middle class. So if they are able to repeal the minimum wage laws, Walmart will be able to say $5 is a good wage. That's coming if we let it happen. The only reason they're bragging about 50 cents an hour more than the minimum wage is to make it look like they're giving some kind of recession. They shouldn't be talking about anything less. What? Time's up? Okay. Thank you. 1 minute. The debate about a living wage in Chicago, I think the aldermen and everybody else, when they proposed $11, I thought that was $1 or two too short. And these studies, like this one here, the federal poverty level, they're very clear. $12 an hour, $24,000 a year is a ridiculous low wage to try to support yourself and raise a kid on. Now, if you're single and you have no plans of ever having a child or anything, and you can share an apartment with 3 or 4 other wage earners, people can do that. People do that. But for anybody that's thinking about supporting a family, there's no jobs in Walmart on the average. So, my time's up. We'll take it up again.
All right. 5 minutes.
All right, so I won't have any kids. I won't have any kids. That's
5 minutes. Sure.
I want you to live in a flop house.
Where are you gonna live?
Tent. Park.
I wanted to have a kid and a picket fence. Under a viaduct.
I want to work at Walmart. See the term.
All right, I'm ready to begin. All right, my opponent started off his argument with issues about the wage. How can I delicately we put this.
What happened? You got one of those bras that went together.
As I read, but I'm just going to regurgitate this just in my own words. Minimum wage is set by the federal government, okay? And the federal government's minimum wage is $7.25. We're talking about our federal government, not Walmart, our federal government. The state, the various states can go above what the federal government, pardon me? Okay, I didn't get that. So, are you supposed to interrupt me while I'm doing my?
No.
Okay. All right. So, as I was saying, the various states can increase at their will. They can increase the minimum wage, which is what the state of Illinois did. So, the state of Illinois' minimum wage is $8.25. Okay, so Walmart is not a not-for-profit organization. It's a business. We know they're in business to make lots and lots of money. So to ask them to create a living wage, why are we starting with Walmart?
Yeah.
It's not just a Walmart issue. I have here 61 companies with wage and hour overtime pay issues. And that's the tip of the iceberg. The list below are companies, ooh, my glasses are bad. The list below are companies that have either had claims brought against them for FSLA overtime pay issues or have actually settled with claimants in regard to overtime pay. The list itself, compiled from lawyersandsettlements.com archives, covers 2003 to present. It starts 61 companies, starting with Abercrombie & Fitch, let me name some, Albertson, Allstate Insurance, who had $120 million settlement, and Taylor, AT&T, Bank of America. Oh my God, some that I recognize. Smith Barney, Staples Incorporated, which had a $38 million settlement. Again, it's not a Walmart issue. If we can go to our U.S. congressmen and get them to increase the minimum wage to what we consider a living wage, then we start there. Once it becomes law, then guess what? The businesses have to go by what's in the law, which is what Walmart and other companies like Walmart are doing. So why are we slapping down Walmart? Because again, it's not just a Walmart issue.
Just got a counter.
Slave labor to maintain low prices. They do not only pay minimum. They do not only pay minimum wage. Oh, okay, that was me. There was a statement made that Walmart only pays minimum wage jobs. That's sort of kind of inaccurate. Give me a second. Who said time's up? Is my time up?
You want me to punch him for you?
No, we got.
Okay.
The career opportunities. Okay, career opportunities at Walmart includes corporate careers, store careers, Sam Club careers, pharmacy, optometry, logistics, driving, international careers. Are you saying all those jobs are minimum wage? They are not. The only jobs that are minimum wage are like your stock people, your cashiers, and again you're talking about again you're talking about individuals who maybe this is the best that they can do. All right, maybe they don't have the education or they don't have the skill level. These are entry-level positions that pay minimum wage, but not all of Walmart's jobs pay minimum wage. They do not. Is that it?
No, you still got a little. About
Half a minute.
Half a minute.
Half a minute. So how you ladies and gentlemen doing tonight?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
How you doing? Okay, I'm gonna end it there.
What, honey?
All right.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the cook.
5 minutes, Dave.
5 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Start now. I think saying that there's 61 other companies that have issues and that we shouldn't pick on Walmart is like saying that since there's other serial killers around the country that are still active, we shouldn't go after the one that's here because he's only killed 6 women that we know of. All 61 of those companies should be prosecuted for stealing from their employees and the weasel factor and everything else if they have issues. Wal-Mart shouldn't be singled out. I absolutely agree. But Wal-Mart is the granddaddy compared to Wal-Mart is a giant white shark, great white shark compared to a bunch of minnows, compared to the global reach it has as a corporation. The issues about the wage. I think maybe we have a difference of opinion about, I don't know how to express this in language other than to say, the owner of Costco puts their customers and their workers first, ahead of the shareholders. They say if we take care of the customers, treat them with dignity and respect, take care of employees, pay them a living wage, good health care, and treat the employees with dignity and respect also, you have a good business model. Now, you don't, the man from, CEO from Costco is reputed to say that his salary is about double what the highest paid store manager gets, or something like that. He doesn't get $50 million a year, $100 million a year. He said, I get enough that I live comfortably, but we plow profits back into providing a community that, you know, it's a part of, the Costco stores are part of the community. A lot of businesses used to be that way. A lot of, you know, small, if you go into any small mom and pop store, and a lot of times you find people that have worked there for years. They might not be getting rich, but they're getting a living wage. The idea that Wal-Mart is not for profit, so I agree. Wal-Mart is definitely not for profit. Wal-Mart is a wealth concentrator, and their goal is to take as much money as they can from as many sources as they can and concentrate it into the bank accounts of the owners of Wal-Mart. And you cannot discount the fact that when a Wal-Mart comes in, city services, sewer, water, a lot of the things that a lot of companies normally pay for are paid for by the city. But a thing that you didn't touch on is the health care and the burden on police, fire, medical facilities, especially the local hospitals, healthcare clinics. They begin absorbing the burden of taking care of the shortfall when Wal-Mart employees get sick. Many of them qualify, you know, for various kinds of assistance. Some even qualify for food stamps because other than a handful of cherry-picked jobs like the store manager and others, the overwhelming majority of people that work at Wal-Mart do not have any kind of affordable health insurance, or if they have it, it's poor and it has gaps in it because Wal-Mart does not provide good affordable health insurance for its employees. And when you're talking about career opportunities, yes, there are career opportunities to make $35,000 or $40,000 or $45,000 a year as a store manager, working like a dog, 15 hours a day. That's in that book about people have worked their way up thinking they would have a career at Wal-Mart, and they're finding out they're in the same boat as the people that spent 20 years of their life trying to build their business as an Amway distributor. And they found they poured their life and soul into it, and they end up not having very much to show for it. So Wal-Mart is a tremendous vehicle for taking the life energy of people and just burning them out with all kinds of ways that you work for Wal-Mart and you don't get paid a fair compensation for your work. 1 minute. Addressing the issue, Wal-Mart is very slick in trying to coerce the city fathers in Chicago to put a supercenter or something in an area that is so-called barren. The city of Chicago should be encouraging stores like Jewel and Dominic's and Target and the others with, you know, tax incentives to start serving that community, because all of those stores pay far better wages to their entry-level employees than Walmart does. So we'll pick it up in a minute. Thanks.
Okay. No questions. Okay.
I don't know, I think it's on. It sounded like it was
We want jobs and that.
Where's Costco at? Charlie, you're next.
Next week we have what's wrong with the Wal-Mart.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, so my opponent compared Walmart to Costco. Said Costco has a thing for putting people first. So guess what? Walmart sucks. All right?
Yeah.
Don't apply for a job. Don't work there.
All right, that's the only employer.
And that's the bottom line. You know, I won't go to some club and apply for a pole dancing job because guess what? I ain't gonna be too good at it. I ain't gonna last 5 minutes, let alone 5 hours and 5 days. As a Chicago actress, give you a prime example. As a Chicago actress, for the past month, I've been on the set several times a week of Chicago Code. I don't know if you heard about that. It's a Chicago television series that premieres in February. And so I've been working on the set of Chicago Code now for the past month. 14-hour days. If you've ever done extra work, has anyone in the audience ever done extra work? It's no joke. No benefits, minimum wage. I think after 8 hours you make overtime. 14-hour days. You're supposed to get at least a 30-minute break. Well, how it goes is when they feed you lunch, the crew eats first. Then after the crew, then they allow the lowly extras to come in and eat. But by that time, you have 20 minutes, and that don't even include a bathroom break. There's times that I've arrived on set at 9 a.m. and have not left until after midnight. But guess what? If I don't like it, don't register with the agency, don't accept the job. Okay? And that's the bottom line. You know what the situation is going in. Everybody's not stroking egos. Costco is a people person. You know, if that's the type of company that you want to work for, or if that's the only job that you can get, then you know that's fine. But if you just want to go and and do your 9 to 5 so that you can feed your family, Walmart is one of your options. But again, you can choose not to work for them if you don't feel that they're as cozy as Costco. Putting mom and pop stores out of business, we haven't really talked about that a whole lot, but I wanted to address it. In a couple of the areas where the Walmarts are coming up, there are no mom and pop businesses. But I'm going to say this, and I can only go with my own truth. In my neighborhood, I'm in the Hyde Park/Woodlawn area. And the mom and pop businesses there are thriving, even with there being, you know, you got a Jewel's, you got a Aldi's not too far away, you got a Save-A-Lot, but they're still thriving. Walmart, even if you don't have it in the community and there is no Walmart in that general vicinity, people will drive past the mom and pop shops and go to wherever Walmart is. So it's not that they're even losing business. If they didn't have the business to begin with, we still patronize those mom and pop shops. But then for like the bigger items, you know, we want to buy in bulk and we feel like we'll get a better deal, you know, then we'll go to Walmart or we'll go to Target or whatever. But as far as putting them out of business, I think those that are doing well already and have a clientele or following, they're not going to lose them. They certainly haven't lost me and my family, and we've been in the neighborhood for 14 years. This is our 16th year anniversary today, guys. Then I use myself as an example. I graduated from Chicago State University on December 21st. Yay! with my first undergraduate degree. I'm 47 years old. So why are you getting a degree now? Because I want to make more money. So you do what it is that you need to do to get better. Okay? I don't want a minimum wage job, so I'm going to do what I need to do to ensure that I don't have to take a minimum wage job. I'm going right into a master's degree program, and maybe even a PhD program if I'm still around. Because what it dictates, the more lambskin you have, supposedly the more money you can make. You know, I wrote down here, hopefully, if you come into Walmart in an entry-level minimum wage paying position, hopefully you're not considering that job a career. Hopefully you're considering it a stepping stone in the company while you better yourself, get your education, gain some skills and experiences. Is my time up?
Yes.
Darn.
Finish your sentence.
Okay, gain some skills and experiences so that you can begin to move up. If you're in a minimum wage position in 5 years, then don't look at Walmart, look in the mirror.
Don't organize a union.
Once again, we're talking about a couple of points. Jewel, Aldi's, Save-A-Lot, those are stores in your area. Is that correct?
What?
Well, if those stores are within 3 or 4 miles of a Walmart supercenter, they're going to start to lose business as people drive to Walmart to try to get the cheaper prices. The American public is living in a tremendous bubble of ignorance, thinking that if we drive over here for a couple miles, we'll save 3 cents a gallon on gasoline. People are very irrational in not looking at the actual cost of things. So a brand new flashy Walmart supercenter is going to suck business out of all those stores with a 2 or 3 mile radius. In rural areas, it's a 20-mile radius. But anyway, Walmart, along with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, is behind the movement to move American jobs overseas, shut down factories and companies, lay people off here permanently, just leave them on the permanent unemployed rolls, and reopen those factories and businesses overseas. Walmart is the driving force behind the loss of jobs in America and for hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of companies. Almost anything manufactured that can be manufactured, if Walmart can buy it in China, paying people $1 an hour, they will do that rather than pay American workers a decent wage and sell a t-shirt for 10 or 20 cents more. It's a predatory business model that is a wealth concentrator, and that's what we're losing sight of. You have to concentrate on the fact that Walmart helps their main suppliers close down factories, lay off, factories like Black & Decker or American Flyer, Little Red Wagons, all kinds of things that were manufactured in America for so many years. None of that stuff is made here in America anymore. It's all manufactured overseas because Walmart got big enough to dictate to American workers, that is, dictate to the suppliers. We bought $50 million worth of bicycles. We bought $50 million last year in bikes. Now, if you will shut down your factory and move it to China and give us those bikes for 5% less money, you can have another big order. So what does the company do? They shut down their American factory, lay off 2,000 people, and move to China, Taiwan, Mexico, anywhere. But that's what's been happening over the last 20 years. And now, with 10, 12, 15% of the population unemployed, the last point I'd like to address, 85% of kids in college right now, picture this, 85% of kids in college think that they're going to come home and live with mom and dad because they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting a living wage job with their college degree once they graduate. We are graduating far more college graduates than there are living wage jobs in America. Why? The jobs aren't here. First, the blue-collar workers were left, then the pink-collar workers, the clerical workers, the office workers, and then the managers. First, Ross Perot was absolutely right when he said, with this Free Trade Act of being able to move businesses overseas, 1992, he said, watch what happens. You're going to hear this giant sucking sound as American jobs just leave America. Well, Mexico heard that giant sucking sound a few years later as all those jobs went to China, where you could pay people 50 cents or $1 an hour. Walmart and the others said, why are we paying Mexican workers $2 an hour? $2 an hour is way too much. We can pay 50 cents to $1 an hour in India and China and some other places. That's the reality of what has happened in the last 15 years, but that reality is unknown to most people that have not been studying this, and that's the problem. The American public is vastly uneducated and unaware of what the causes are of joblessness and unemployment in America. It's not that a whole bunch of people are lazy and they don't feel like working. It's that 2,000 or 3,000 people in a town that had good jobs, the factory just closed and went to China. And those people are unemployed and have no hope of getting a living wage job. That's where we are today. We have to do something about it. Thank you.
This is the final round. So Michelle has 10 minutes, followed by Andy Anderson with 10 minutes, and then I'll start taking questions.
Yeah, wants to work. I don't want one.
You work for the Fed.
I work for America every day.
And America loves you better.
I think he's a narc. There's a difference between the work for you.
All right, I'm ready to start.
Yeah, man, they working like a dog.
All right, I've listened to everything that my opponent has had to say, and he's had some valid concerns that need to be addressed. However, the debate topic is, are the 3 Walmarts in Chicago good for the city? So that's my focus. From my perspective, it is. Does Walmart have some issues that need to be addressed? Yes. But we need those jobs. I find it very difficult to have had to listen to some of the aldermen and some of the lawmakers make decisions about whether or not to build Walmart in the community that's going to bring jobs, when you have a lot of people anticipating, praying, and wishing that that Walmart be okay to bring those jobs into the community because they want work. They need the work. They don't care if it's minimum wage. They need a job so that they can feed their families. And for those who want to, build themselves up to be able to eventually make more money, that's fine and dandy. But, where there are some disgruntled people who work for Walmart, there are a lot of happy people that work for Walmart. I personally do not drive out of the neighborhood to go to Walmart. I tend to go to the stores within the neighborhood. But if I do go to Sam's. I am a Sam's Club member, and so if I go to Sam's and Walmart is right there, then I'll go into the Walmart. But I'm gonna say this: with all of the disgruntled people, Walmart is always packed. It makes me sick. That's one of the reasons why I don't go, because it's always just too crowded. No place to park, buggies, buggy fights. People are going there. So irregardless to what we're talking about here, people are still going because of the low cost. People are still applying for the jobs because that's where they can get jobs. I know one of the issues that I have as an African American is that we have a lot of men and women who have made some mistakes, and they've served time. But as many of you may already know, and we're not talking about heinous crimes. We're talking about, petty theft. Small crime is a crime, but nevertheless, we're not talking about heinous crimes. But what happens is when they get in the system, even though they serve their time in prison, and you have some who are like, oh my God, I'm sorry I made that decision, I'll never do it again. But when they come out of the system, they're still persecuted. So a lot of them have an even harder time trying to find work. And some of them, they don't want to go out there and do the illegal things that will bring them thousands of dollars. They really want to do right and make an honest day's pay for an honest day's work, and so that they can be role models for their children and for their families. But what ends up happening is, if the doors keep shutting in their faces often enough, it's almost like backing a rabid dog into a corner. And then they start making some wrong decisions because they're hungry and they can't provide for their families. So they get to a point where I'm going to do whatever I need to do to provide for my family. There's still no excuse to commit a crime, but I'm just trying to explain some of the reasons why it happens. Again, my husband is paying for the table. There's a lot of folks can't afford that. You know what I mean? A lot of folks can't afford that. So I can stand here and say, yeah, Walmart sucks. Don't let them open their doors. But then we go home to our nice, cozy home. I fixed a full spread Thanksgiving meal that we can afford to fix on a daily basis. But guess what? They're out in the street going, what happened? What happened that Walmart did not get built so that I can apply for a job and possibly be employed so that I can use Walmart as a stepping stone to something bigger and something better eventually. One of the things, I'm an entrepreneur through and through. As Corinne read my bio. And one of the things that I used to work for my pastors who have an IT company, and I used to be a site manager at their headquarters, and one of the things that I was responsible for was helping people with resume writing and job search. And I really got a glimpse. You see the news articles, and if you're on Facebook, people are talking about jobs, and there's even an organization out there called the INAF, I Need a Freaking Job. Have you heard of that? The website is inaf.org. And I don't know if you heard about this. When they came up with the concept, they knew what route President Obama, I think it was in Texas, whatever state it was, they knew what route the motorcade was going to come, so they bought a billboard that was like, hey, President, hey, President Obama, I need a freaking job. And that's the consensus of a lot of people with degrees or without degrees. So my point being is that even though my opponent made some very valid points, some issues with Walmart that need to be addressed, they need to be addressed aside from not allowing Walmarts to be built so that they can provide those jobs. I think that people could be allowed to work as we come together to work out those issues. Never saying that there isn't any issues, just saying that there's got to be another way to address those issues. That's it.
All right.
Andy, you have 10 minutes.
Yes, I think it's easy.
Well, we're going to open the questions and answers after this, so I'd like to say I think we should all thank Michele for doing a really good presentation here. This is a really thorny issue where a lot of, like she says, we have some issues that need to be addressed, and I think I look at it from a different point of view maybe, that we should address the issues of social injustice across the board and the social safety net. Bringing a Wal-Mart store in to address a lot of these other problems, I think, is not going to help. There was an old television program called Kojak. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Well, at the end of his, several of his, he'd be, you know, he had a lollipop all the time, and he'd say, "Why can't people learn that where there is no justice, you get violence?" And that's what's happening in communities, poorer communities all across America, as the standard of living goes down, jobs are shipped overseas, there's no hope of getting any kind of a job in a lot of areas. The city fathers aren't addressing it. They could be. There's all kinds of ways, creative ways that cities are trying to revitalize various areas, giving tax breaks to small businesses, entrepreneurs. There's an incredible amount of good stuff going on around the country, but most of it is not in the news, so we don't know these things are happening. There, you know, I agree that there should be valid ways. Like when we were growing up, you could get a minimum wage job and you'd learn, you could move up, and it was a stepping stone to higher and higher positions. In one company, when we came through high school, we saw people that worked for companies for 30 years. You know, some people in this room had careers, long careers in public service or in union jobs. Today there is no loyalty among big companies. Most big companies have no loyalty to their workers at all, and they're conditioning us to think of, you're going to change jobs 6 or 8 or 10 times, right? Well, one of the biggest scams that's being run on young people right now is the fact that if you take out huge loans and pay for a whole bunch of credit hours, you're going to be able to get a good job. And the jobs aren't in America. They're in the call centers in India. Or the Honeywell is bragging about having 11,000 engineers. 11,000 engineering jobs have just opened up in India, where you can pay people $4,000 a year with a master's degree. The jobs physically aren't here in America, and that's one of the issues we have to address. And I agree with Michele wholeheartedly. We have to pressure our federal representatives, city fathers. The government should be doing a lot more on certain issues. One of the issues I've talked about many times here is nobody is talking about the real elephant in the room, is that we are pouring $1 trillion a year down the military revenue, right? We're spending $1 million a year. $1 million a year it costs to keep a soldier in Iraq or Afghanistan. Where is that money going, and what are those guys doing over there? For those of you that like to go to movies, there's a new movie out called Love and Other Drugs that talks about the pharmaceutical industry. And there's a cheerleader up there talking about new recruits, and she says, look at these 10 names here. These are 10 of the Fortune 500 companies. What do they have in common with the other 490? Well, these 10 corporations make more profits than the other 490 combined. We are allowing corporations in America to run money-generating machines to the detriment of education, medical care. We stand alone as the only country on the planet without universal health care. The only modern country that doesn't allow its citizens to have affordable health care. The Chamber of Commerce, Wal-Mart especially, they fight politicians. They pour hundreds of millions of dollars into campaigns to defeat any politicians anywhere that would provide us with affordable health care. Because a company like Wal-Mart or the 61 others, big corporations that do provide health care, can tell their employees, you will do whatever I want, or I'll find somebody who will. People are staying in their jobs right now, jobs they hate, because they have some form of health care. There's 50 million, 54 million Americans at the moment that have no access to affordable health care of any kind. We are, number one, we are a national disgrace in the way we treat sick people in this country. And that's not in the news. It's not at all. We've talked about that, and it's one of the the top 10 blacked out subjects that Sonoma State University talks about every year. Is the pharmaceutical industry, big business, Wall Street, the politicians, wholly owned by these big corporations. And in Wal-Mart, their business model of maximizing profits at every turn, it's just simply a cancer on America. And as Wal-Mart gets bigger, the middle class gets smaller, nationwide. Now there may be one or two pockets here and there where it looks like you're going to get some benefits from a Wal-Mart store. But on overall balance, just to support that corporation by giving them our business, it slows down our opportunities to address the problem. We have to address the problem in America that billionaire owners of some of these predatory corporations want to eliminate the middle class. That's the goal today. And if you think, well, some people think that nobody in our government would ever lie to us about anything. It's just as an off-the-wall thought, is anybody in this room not familiar with the Tuskegee experiment? Do you all know what the Tuskegee experiment was? Yeah, and anybody, well, I'll talk to you guys later about something else. But that was where the government initially, just intentionally let a whole bunch of people die in order to run an experiment about the new drug penicillin. Our government runs and covers up these things for 30, 40, 50 years. We're dealing with monstrous cover-ups in the press. The press no longer reports the news. They report the Daily Word. Fox News is the leading proponent of this. There's all kinds of studies showing that people that get their information from Fox News are the most uninformed people on the planet. Fox won a court case that says they can lie, they make up any lies they want and just report it as news. So it's an uphill battle to find out where real information is and stories. That's why I translate books, because somebody will spend 15 or 20 years of their life researching a story. They'll put it together in a book like this or some of those others, and my brother and I take these things, take a wheelbarrow full of paper and translate it down into a one-page Cliff Notes. So what I'm talking about tonight, I'm not standing up here giving my opinion without having looked at hundreds of stories from communities all over the country about what's happened as big corporations. The oil companies are another one. We shouldn't just single out Wal-Mart for the loss of jobs. Manufacturing in this country has taken an enormous hit. Our country used to make stuff. Now you go into a Wal-Mart or some other store and it's hard, very difficult to find anything manufactured in America. There's a growing campaign to try to get people to buy American stuff. And if you listen to 820 AM or 92.7 on the FM, it's WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Radio. They talk about, Ed Schultz every day from 11 to 2 talks about the campaign about how we can put Americans back to work, how everybody should have a job with dignity. There was a great movie on that called Dave, about the president, where a guy worked in a center where they tried to find jobs. I'm absolutely in agreement that finding people decent jobs should be a way to help people get out of poverty and support themselves. That's the core issue, and none of our politicians, the ones that have the real power, are addressing it. Some that had power were getting, Congressman Grayson was voted out. A massive amount of Chamber of Commerce money was poured into his campaign to defeat him, because he was fighting for the American people, people of all, from middle class on down. And he just said, the rich have a plan for us for health care. If you get sick, die quickly so they don't have to pay any claims. That's where we are. And if we don't face the reality of where we are, we can't move on to solutions. Okay? Thank you.
Tim?
question is, both our,
Did you want anything else?
Participants in the debate are gonna stand up, and then I'll be going around the room and asking questions.
Oh, yeah.
Starting off with Bill Wendt. Bill?
Yeah, how come every time, low-wage jobs open up, several dozen low-wage jobs, there's several hundred applicants?
How come there's always several hundred applicants when a low-wage job opens up? Who's that question to?
Well, either one.
Because people are unemployed.
Bill Wendt's question was, how come there's hundreds of people show up for every time a living wage job is created? Well, the reason for that is we have massive unemployment of people that used to be working and are no longer working because their factory was shut down and moved to India and China. The jobs aren't in America anymore. That's why the latest surveys show there's 5.5 people looking for each job that is available.
Jeff?
Yes. Andy briefly, this is to both of you, Andy briefly alluded to the possibility of Jewel or Costco. He rattled off a number of firms who could have built outfits where the Wal-Mart outfits are. And he, if I recall correctly, he briefly alluded there to tax breaks. My factual question to you is exactly what tax breaks were offered to Wal-Mart, and were those same tax breaks offered to the other firms that Andy rattled off, or any other firms that could have set up outfits where the Wal-Marts have been set up?
I can't answer that. I don't have any information on how much Wal-Mart was offered or what kind of incentives there are. There's just a lot of politics going on. But I would like to see the aldermen research this and find out why Wal-Mart is the only one. We're being told Wal-Mart's the only one that can set up a store that would be profitable and they would sell a bunch of stuff to everybody. If there's a need for a good store, why are we saying that only Wal-Mart is the one that can go in there?
You mean the media didn't cover this?
Not much. Not that I'm aware of.
No speaker English, I don't know.
Do you know whether or not the Walmarts are being set up in a TIF district?
Tax increment financing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, questions? Janet?
One of you heard the story about what happened when Walmart bought out some British firm, might have been asked, I'm not sure. And they were told, well, of course now you have to recognize that we are heading to unionize store, and we will remain so. And they had to go along with it. Does anybody know the follow-up to that story? Yeah.
I do. What I read was in European countries, I believe that if they're buying out union stores, if a deal goes through, Walmart is told, this is a union area. You have to have a union. You have to allow the workers to have a union. They don't allow us here. But there are, I don't have the list in front of me, it's in this book and some others, about which countries just told Walmart, if you don't want a union, don't even bother to set up a store here. We're a union and that's it. And so some stores are unionized and they have much better conditions for the workers and everything than what we have here in America.
That's sure.
Questions? Ma'am? And this is only question session, but you can definitely have a rebuttal after.
Okay, where did you get the statement that you made about only Walmart to be in those locations?
No, I didn't. I'm asking the question. The city of Chicago is being browbeaten into saying that these are deserts, they're dead zones, and no other stores want to go in there. I want to know why. I didn't make that statement. What I'm saying is I want to know why we're being told that they can't put other stores or attract other stores to a dead area. There's a lot of good stores that can go in there if our aldermen would get their act together, right? That's my point.
That's what I wanted to comment about, because I attend most of all of our community meetings, and if for whatever reason Walmart isn't allowed to be there, we're going to open up some kind of business, allow some kind of business to open up, because we want businesses to have jobs for these people.
That's my point.
Yes, so no, it's not just.
Both of you have questions?
Yes.
Okay, you first.
Actually, I was kind of interested in, you made a comment about, earlier about censorship, I was looking at a book. Wal-Mart, do you believe that they're probably about people in certain money, echelons that probably are making sure that Wal-Mart have an unfair advantage of other companies? Through the media?
Yeah, there are a bunch of examples in these books about how Walmart has been given an advantage. You know, they've been given beneficial treatment in the media compared to other stores. You know, the media, for how much cash exchanges hands under the table or how much advertising dollars they spend, but they will pour money into the media advertising and making it look like they're going to be a really good citizen. They get tremendously good treatment from the media by virtue of just bribing them with bags full of money buying. Huh? Yeah.
So your question?
Actually, I had two, but I'll do one first. You spoke about the domination of the stores that didn't go into these areas. Are you personally familiar with the areas that the Walmarts want to go into? Have you personally visited these areas?
No, I haven't. I haven't, but I'd like to. I thought after tonight, you know, when I get time the next few weeks, I want to meet with some of the aldermen, because I've been seeing bits and pieces, and I haven't known about this for years. I mean, we've just been in the newspapers the last few weeks, and I don't have the whole list of aldermen yet, and maybe you can provide me with that, who to talk to and give them information about why don't you, you know, help get better jobs into the community than the dirt cheap jobs that are going to be provided by Walmart. No, you're on the far south side.
Certain jobs over there right now.
Well, you know, there are other stores though. You know, Walmart's not selling crap.
Question? No, this is for questions. Andy, were there any other retailers? At one point, Walmart was offering $4 prescription prices for common prescriptions. Do you know of any other retailer that offered similar?
Another retailer that has been offering low prices on basic antibiotics and stuff is a chain called Myers. You know, several others are doing it with minimum. But, you know, Walmart can do that because they can cut a deal with the pharmaceutical companies. There's no reason they have to charge $100 a bottle for something if it costs them 75 cents to make it. So, you know, I haven't done the research on it, but there's a, you know, there's no reason why Walmart wouldn't be cutting deals with some of the big pharmaceutical industry companies.
Are you accusing Walmart then of driving down the price of prescriptions?
No, I think they give away cheap prescriptions to get people into the store. I think they use the prescriptions as a loss leader to get people to come into the store. And it's not really a loss leader for them because there's such a huge markup on medicines anyway.
But ultimately, Walmart did cause the price of the amoxicillin to go down. Okay, you had not had a question.
I have a question that's a question that has been bothering me for Andy. Aren't the rulers of this country, the ruler owners of this country, afraid of a social revolution? If they export enough jobs, to so many jobs, we're going to have an army of unemployed in this country that is going to, you know, people are going to do anything to survive. I know it's a question.
So the question is, are the rulers concerned about a possible revolution from the continual unemployed masses, the proletariat? Who was that?
For Andy.
For Andy, okay.
I would think they would be getting nervous about it. You're absolutely correct in that people will do anything to survive, and that's my point, that we should fight predatory companies before they get any bigger. There are all kinds of good businesses we can support that treat their people better than Walmart. That's it. You know.
Bob Manor.
Yeah, Andy, you said you're talking about Walmart sending all these jobs overseas, but 51% of Walmart's sales are groceries. And virtually all those groceries are made in America.
Not anymore.
Bullshit.
Take a look.
Oh,
When you
Not anymore.
go there and look,
You're out of
you know,
They're reporting the living hell out of
One
it.
poll at a time, please.
so, well, could you address it? How can you say that, you know, all this stuff is foreign when, like groceries, so much groceries is local. People are going there, and then even I don't know if you want to call it, I don't know where detergent falls, but you look in people's baskets, they're buying Charmin toilet paper, they're buying Tide, you know, and they're buying, you know, other, you know, last time I was in there, I think I bought some tortilla chips, and, you know, all this stuff.
Andy, how can you justify that Walmart is buying foreign goods when they sell groceries and other domestic products?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. Walmart sells the cheaper stuff made in China in place of the more expensive stuff made in America in almost every case they can to go with the profits. I'm not saying that there aren't I don't shop in Walmart. Well, okay, most of the clothing in Walmart, you know, from what I'm reading and what I've seen when I walk through the store, you have a hard time finding American-made stuff in Walmart. You know, as far as addressing 50% of the groceries, well, groceries are shipped from all over the place. And Walmart is doing the same thing, you know, with groceries that they're doing with the rest of the stuff. They're looking to get bulk deliveries for the cheapest amount of money they can and make the best profit. So, you know, as a grocery store, Walmart is not by America, not by any means.
Well, a follow-up to that, Walmart's grocery prices are 25 to 26% lower than Dominic's and Jewel's. This is putting millions of dollars in consumers' pockets, giving them a choice now to go buy other things. So what is the problem with people getting more for their money?
Okay, Bob asked a good question. It was like the one he asked 2 weeks ago, but we won't talk about that. Bob said if prices are 25% lower, they're putting money in people's pockets. Well, the grocery prices aren't 25% lower at Walmart. That's one giant crock of horse manure.
No, they are.
So stop spreading that horse manure here when we're trying to have a good discussion, okay?
I'll show you the reference. The Tribune studied it. I read the Tribune article. They studied
Tribune. Dewey defeats Truman. That was the Tribune.
Same question for Michelle and for Andy. For Michelle, does it cause you any type of concern as people favor Walmart, their move toward selling in communities and employing people, but not producing stuff in these communities in Chicago or even overall in the United States? And then to Andy, do you think taking a stand about Walmart is doing anything in the direction of encouraging United States production?
Okay, so the question for Michelle is, do you have a problem encouraging Walmart to be in these communities when Walmart isn't actually manufacturing or producing the goods in these communities?
My short answer is no. And my reason is, most of your stores aren't manufacturing the products that they sell. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was on the set of another movie, and we were at 900 North Michigan Avenue. You know that's the Gold Coast area. And the store that we were shooting out of was a store called Mark Shell, which I used to work at when I came out of high school. In between scenes, I'm going through their clothing rack, and they talk about markup. I thought their stuff was American made. All I saw was made in China, made in China. And this is Marshall, Gold Coast area. But we're talking about something that we will probably see in Walmart for say $100, but they've marked it up to $1,000. But again, back to your question, I personally don't know of any stores that are selling items that they themselves manufacture.
They push people to manufacture overseas rather than the United States.
Okay, and what was your question for Andy?
Well, kind of a flip side of that. Do you think it really is, effective or has a good effect moving things forward to take a stand in favor of American production by this opposition to Wal-Mart.
I guess the question is, if I understand it right, he's asking me if I think taking a stand, trying to help people learn about Wal-Mart will make any difference.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, the only thing that ever makes a difference is once enough people reach critical mass that they won't put up with something anymore. We can breathe easy in this restaurant because we have non-smoking rules. But those of us that are allergic to cigarette smoke couldn't have dinner in many restaurants just 4 or 5 years ago. The knowledge moves forward, and more people learn. Once you get above 50% in the public, then it spreads very fast. And opposing Wal-Mart is a moral and ethical issue because it's just simply, I can't myself, with what I know, I can't continue to give any money to that corporation because of their predatory practices all over the world, not just here. And to answer some of the other question, most stores do not manufacture what they sell. That's absolutely true. And it's critical whether they're buying from an American supplier and supporting American jobs, or whether the CEO is getting rich by buying foreign products and selling them for nearly the same price here in America and just pocketing the difference. We have to address that issue as a society, or the middle class is gone.
I wanted to respond to that question, and my answer would be no, that educating the American people, and this is generally speaking, attempting to educate them on the issues, I think will have very little impact, because there's only 2 things on their mind: savings and jobs. So everything else is going in one ear and out the other, because right now Walmart's got a sale going on, so I ain't trying to hear what you have to say. Or right now, they open their doors at 8 a.m. and they're taking applications and I need a job, I'll talk to you later. Little impact.
Charles.
Yeah, Michelle, your basic premise is a job is better than no job. Well, I'm running a coal mine, and I'd like to employ some family members, some men. I'd like to see them on Monday, because a job in my coal mine is better than no job, right? So why don't you send a whole bunch of people from this neighborhood over my coal mine on Monday?
The question for Michelle is whether she would tolerate her family members or loved ones
Is
working
her
for a coal mine.
basic premise correct?
They have options. Remember, I also said that if you choose Costco, because they are, was it Costco that you said that they're people? So if they prefer Costco over Walmart, they have options. The point that I made was, if you know what the situation is going in, then you make a conscious decision on whether or not you can deal with it. If the job pays, if you know that the job pays $10 an hour, and you go have an issue with making that salary because you think that you deserve more, then why are you applying for it? You don't get the job and then go in and complain about what it pays when you knew when you applied for it how much it paid and what the conditions were.
So you want my 3 coal mines in Chicago, right?
Me personally, I have options.
You know what I'm gonna do? You want it? You want it?
No.
Thanks, Charles.
Wally, Walter.
I have 2 questions, both for Michelle. You've already told us about the wonderful wage rates at Walmart. Can you tell me how much the employees, or associates as they like to call them, pay for premiums, the deductibles, and the co-pays? Can those workers afford these? I hear they can. What do you say?
Hold on a second.
That's my first question.
So the question was, how much do the associate, the lowest level employees have to pay for their health insurance, and whether that would be affordable to them. Michelle is
The co-pays, the deductibles.
Yeah, the co-pays,
I can tell
deductibles.
you. You can tell us. My wife works for Wal-Mart. $75 a month, a check. $150 a month, $2,500 copay.
Bet you thought I didn't have the answer, didn't you?
No.
There's the thought.
Ah, da 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 da.
I used to pay that.
Is there another one?
All right. This is Walmart announces additional health benefits, improvements, and timelines. And under other changes highlighted include expand the list of $3 generic prescriptions previously offered at $10 for common conditions in January 2007. Offer discounts of approximately 20% on prescription drugs otherwise not covered on the health plan in January 2007. Expand the availability of the value plan option at $11 per month for individuals and $9 more per month for children to nearly half of all associates by the end of the year. Enhance the company's contribution to health savings accounts by providing a contribution of up to $1,200 and an additional match of up to $1,200 beginning in January 2007, and provide a 10% associate discount on healthy foods such as fresh fruits and vegetables in Walmart stores and Sam's Club. Thank you very much.
Doesn't quite answer my question.
Do you know
My
what the
second question.
deductible or the copay?
I do.
It says $11 per month for individuals and $9 more per month for children to nearly half of all associates by the end of the year.
$11 a month per person, and then $9 more for any dependents.
What are the deductibles? How much is the deductible here?
Do you know what the deductible is?
Well, let's move on to my second question.
Okay.
No, I don't know what deductible is.
My second question is, seems most of America does not want a Walmart by them. I have a list here. I can then read all the names of municipalities, counties, and boroughs in the United States. There are 58 of them, plus 3 in Ontario, that have kept Walmart out. And my question to you is, if so many Americans don't want Walmart around, why should us Chicagoans want this monstrosity of a Walmart? Why should we be any
So the
different?
question is that some various communities have forbidden Walmart to set camp.
There must
So why
be
should
something
Chicago
to
be
it when
any
there-
different?
that
Or
many-
why were the previous municipalities
All these places don't want Walmart.
forbidding Walmart from coming in?
Why are there so many that don't want Walmart, and why should we take it?
Why should we take it if they don't want one?
That's 58 that I know of, 3 in Canada that I know of. Probably more.
Okay, this doesn't necessarily apply. To answer your question, can we try being innovative? I mean, can we try, do we necessarily, there's 50 states in the United States, and if you have a few states who didn't want Walmart, does that mean that we should follow
These
suit?
aren't states. If you want, I read them to you. This is New England, the Southwest, the South, the Northwest, all over. The only 2 I don't see are Hawaii and Alaska. But it's not a case, it's a case of all over America, people don't want Walmart, so why should we want it? There must be something wrong with that organization.
We want lower prices.
That much
That's why
hatred
we want
against it.
You know,
I think the answer to Walter's question is what I talked about before, that now it spreads from person to person if it's not in the news. And the states that oppose Walmart are the ones that have been educated by the disaster of Walmarts in various
These aren't
towns.
states, these are municipalities.
Municipalities,
And
right.
counties,
Well,
sometimes
there are some
boroughs and cities.
municipalities, cities, counties, whatever. It's an educational process, and once they reach the point of critical mass and they understand what Walmart has done to maybe the neighboring town or 40 miles over, then they don't go back. People aren't going back to creating smoking restaurants, after the decision was made. We all know this. We're moving forward, and that's how this knowledge is spreading on the disaster of Wal-Mart, town by town, city by city, nationwide. And there's been a lack of coverage of this by the media in Chicago, so people in Chicago just don't know what's in this book and dozens and hundreds of reports off the internet and from other cities of what happened. They just don't know yet.
Okay, so I'm going around and answering questions before I go around again. Who? Yeah, yes, I was going to ask this gentleman.
Yes, Michelle, I got a question for you. You talked about jobs would be beneficial for those areas. Let me just ask you this. At 40 hours a week, $9 an hour, that equates to $360 a week. You have federal tax of $43. You got state tax of $11. You have Social Security of $29. So that person will bring home $277 a week, which equates to $1,108 a month. And I didn't even figure out the health care plan. If your rent or mortgages, let's say, is about $800, your food is about $200, and your utilities are $60. So now it's $1,060. And I'm not even talking now gasoline for a car, insurance, or let's just say a person got a student loan and had a $60,000 student loan that they had to pay $300, $400, or $500 or more a month. So basically, where is this money going? Because it's not benefiting the community when you have $1,060 in fixed costs and you're making $1,108 a month on a $9 an hour job.
Okay, based on my understanding, based on the income that you have coming in, you live accordingly.
That's right.
So, for example, we don't live like we have the kind of money that Bill Gates made. We live according to the income that we have coming in our household. And when you're making, first of all, as far as the positions are concerned, based on my research, those titles, those jobs, the salaries that Wal-Mart offer is comparable for the same type of work, same title that you're making. There's a site, and I wish I had printed that out. There's a site that you can go to and say, okay, as an administrative assistant, which was salary.com. Salary.com. My work history was executive assistant, and I always reported to superintendents, commissioners, and so forth and so on. You can go to salary.com, plug that title in, and under every state, see what that salary, the range is on a national scale or on a local scale. Okay, so you're talking about, again, someone who maybe doesn't have the education, who has only entry-level skills and experience. They are getting a job based on, and the salary that they're getting is across the board and is based on the work that they're able to produce. So a lot of times what happens is, like with housing and food, there are agencies and other services that are available to them to help them so that they can actually work their way out of that situation. But again, you have some who just kind of waddle in it. You have some who receive state income and it becomes, what's the word? It becomes a crutch. You know, and then the kids receive state income, and then their kids receive state income. That's a prime example of someone who's not trying to do better. That's why I say you don't look at Wal-Mart if you're in an entry-level position for 5 years. You start looking in the mirror, because obviously you're not doing what you need to do to better yourself. But I know people, I have friends who, for whatever reason, ended up having to receive state assistance, but they received it long enough to get their college degree and get a job and immediately got off. And that's what those services are for, but they are available to individuals such as what you described.
Okay, I'm going to go around with another set of questions. Has anyone not had a question yet? And you have not?
Yes, I have one question. A lot of the debate is centered around the issue of quality of life, and quality of life is heavily dependent upon where one is living. And so I was just curious to find out where exactly these proposed Walmarts were going to be built.
Where are the proposed Walmarts going to be built?
Because I knew someone was going to ask. The first one is already open. It's on the Chicago West Side in the Austin area, 4650 West North Avenue in Chicago. The second one, Chicago's second Walmart, is at Pullman Park, a 180-acre residential, commercial, and retailing complex at 111th and the Bishop Ford Freeway.
That's the old rail factory then.
Is it? Because I know further back you got like a horse.
Hawthorne Racetrack.
Across the highway is a golf thing, but for going towards 115th, there's like a horse
candy factory
place, horse race team or something or other.
Good employer, by the way.
Yeah.
And the third site is at 83rd and Stewart in the Chatham community. And that one, I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but it's like right behind. Is that Johnson Publishing? Because then you start, because there's like a whole mall area. So if you're right off the Dan Ryan, right, but on 83rd. But that's the third one.
Michelle, these are all African American neighborhoods.
It's all African American neighborhoods.
Okay, who else has not had a question? Jean, did you have a question?
Yes.
And you hadn't asked one.
Right, I haven't asked one. Michelle, I want to just clarify something you said. You said that a lot of people are, because of their circumstances, are centered on savings and jobs. Jobs, I understand. But did you mean by savings, you didn't mean they were interested in putting money in the bank. You meant they were looking for a good price.
A good price.
Thank you. Okay, and then who, Rhonda, have you had a question? No. Rhonda.
Okay, I guess I'm a little confused. You keep saying that, well, the minimum wage jobs at Walmart aren't a problem because if you don't want them, you can go elsewhere. Yeah, but I thought that part of the point about the Walmart is that there aren't any other stores that really want to go into these neighborhoods. So you don't really have much choice. So which is it? Can you get other jobs, or are you kind of stuck with this minimum wage job?
Do you have a choice, or do you not have a choice to shop at Walmart if you live in one of these? I mean, to be employed at Walmart if you live in one of these desert communities.
For some, they don't have a choice, but others, they do have a choice. For, I mean, something as simple as driving. You know, some may not drive and they need that company to be within walking distance or what, CTA or whatever. You know, they're in the community. And my point being, you know, there's other retail stores, again, that offer the same jobs, the same salaries, but if they don't like the work conditions, say they maybe not have worked there before, but knew someone who worked there, who complained about working there, you know, they have a choice. They don't have to, no one's forcing them to apply for those jobs, was my point.
Okay, has anyone else not had a question? Otherwise, I'm going to go on to round two, and then we're going to have rebuttals where you can finally sit down and relax.
Round two.
A question. Okay, Jeff, what's your question?
Only got 5 minutes.
Particularly in light of things that Andy has said about the fate of the middle class in this country, I have to ask either of you, have you seen the documentary movie Inside Job about the financial crisis 2 years ago? And if you have, do you see any connection between what was said in that movie and what is happening to the alternatives?
Have you seen the movie Inside Job? And if you have, is there a relevancy to the lack of alternatives to Walmart?
I have not seen it, but it is on my list of things to do. In fact, I just started like last week a Blog Talk radio show called At the Movies. And so one of the things the reason why I created it was so that I could do movies, and I'm a wannabe Siskel and Ebert. But that is definitely a movie that I had every intention on seeing, but because of my schedule with school and everything, I have not had time to do it, but I am.
Andy, have you seen Inside Job, and is it relevant to this topic?
Yes, I have seen the movie. I saw it about a week ago, and it's extremely relevant to what we're talking about tonight, because Inside Job describes the 30-year successful program in America that's been run on us for 30 years. It's called Reaganomics. First you go after labor, then you go after pink-collar jobs, then you go after white-collar jobs. The idea is to convert America into a country with no middle class. And Inside Job describes how the rich bankers and the politicians passed certain deregulation laws so that the bankers and the Wall Street people could run wild in the last 10 years. From 2001 to 2008, we had the most successful corporate criminal enterprise running our government that the world has ever seen. And that's the way to say it. We had no government for 8 years. What effect it has on retail is that all of these people are looking at every way to move every business out of America you can. If there's a cheaper source of manpower, the call centers are in India, the sweatshops are in China. A lot of the labor, the manufacturing of automobiles has essentially been moved to Japan and other countries for foreign cars. So it's a war on the middle class, and that's the way to say it. We have been under attack for 30 years, and Wal-Mart is one of the leading predatory warriors that has been behind the changes in what's happened in America in the last 20 years. She's got it.
Okay, I have a question too, though. I have gone into certain stores, including Myers and Jewel-Osco, and I've seen the self-checkout, where you don't have anyone, you don't pay someone to check out your groceries. You check out your groceries yourself. I have noticed that Walmart has not adopted that, or have they? Do you know? The self-checkout.
I won't use them.
They had it in the self-checkout stores are for speed in a lot of places, but I think Walmart has the lower priced cashiers that I think there would be more of a problem with the lines backing up at Walmart than if you had actually qualified people. I'm guessing that's why Walmart hasn't gone to that yet, is because people want to just move through the line, and a lot of people don't want to take the time to learn how to use those machines. They're a pain in the ass a lot of times. At Home Depot, they have a person standing there to help you use the self-checkout. So those self-checkout lines aren't a real time saver in a lot of places. I suspect if they were, Walmart would have them. But Walmart is going for the bottom line and to get people through the store as fast as possible. That's my take on it, but I haven't been in Walmart in 5 years, so.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. It would be my guess that Walmart probably has a major issue with theft. And so if they don't have the manpower for someone to stand there and watch people going through the self-check area, then it's probably just a lot easier to have security at the door and have them to go through lines where they're physical cashiers. As I've stated, the few times, and I can probably count on one hand that I've even been to Walmart, each time that I've been has just been a nightmare because of the traffic, the number of people that they have in them stores. So I can't imagine them even trying a self-checkout, because somebody's going to try to get through there, you know, without swiping everything, you know what I mean?
Ma'am?
I haven't asked a question yet. She's asked.
Okay, yes.
So I understand that Walmart, the largest and most successful retailer in the world, demands subsidies from the municipalities to build their stores. I mean, like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So do you have any idea how much Chicago has paid in the past for their previous stores?
How much did Chicago subsidize a Walmart that's in Austin?
And Chicago being a city that is broke, why would we want to pay? I want to contribute my
No, it's my understanding. You're saying that you think that the city of Chicago is paying to have these stores built?
Oh, yeah. Are we subsidizing the creation of these stores?
No, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. We looked online right before we came. That's a rebuttal. If you have a question, I mean, you're welcome to do a rebuttal during the rebuttal period. But,
It's 10 o'clock, we gotta move, folks.
okay, I'll
Move to the checkout.
All right, I'm not going to be able to put my finger on it right away, but based on everything that I've read where
8 questions or less.
Hold on, let me see if this is it.
Let's run them out of town. Wal-Mart is good.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen anything that said that the city of Chicago pays. It says here, create approximately 10,000 associate positions and 2,000 unionized construction jobs. And I'm wondering if that's Wal-Mart, helping to offset the city's 11.4% unemployment rate, generating more than $500 million in sales and property taxes. I didn't run across anything during my research that said that the city of Chicago actually foots the bill, because we don't have the money.
Part of the unknown factor is the TIF district and whether this is or is not in the TIF district, and that is a separate competition.
I can add one quick thing to that. There's on page 101 of this book, he talks about pork barrel treats. And the city of Lewiston, Maine was a textbook case of corporate welfare, where the governor, the public was given just 2 days to digest the result of Wal-Mart's demands. They wanted what they call a level playing field, and they figured out it would cost the town and the state close to $20 million in upfront potential costs to bring that store there. So Wal-Mart has a history of going. I don't have the numbers yet for Chicago. All I can tell you is the history of town after town across the country is whichever place they were able to get the sweetest deal from the city fathers, that's where they parked a store. Okay?
Ma'am.
The city allowed them to do this because the city was getting money from it, of course.
That's right.
Because they wouldn't be putting money in if they wasn't getting money back.
That's right.
Is there another question, or?
Yeah, that's what the main question.
What is your main question?
My thing was, I'm on the board of directors of two non-for-profit, and I work for a non-for-profit. I see so many black and white unemployed people who are hungry, and I desperately, seriously need income. Wal-Mart, I'm not familiar because I've never worked for them, but I don't know if the qualifications are at a such high standard where a lot of these people, it would not allow them to qualify for jobs. I think that they would be more able to get a job at Walmart more so than they could at your
yeah, as long as you behave yourself once you get the job.
You know what I'm saying?
They'll fire your ass in a second.
Yeah.
Do you appreciate the fact?
No, but I'm sorry. The question was, do you know another company? If we don't get Walmart, do you know another company?
What other company would be willing to gainfully employ these myriads of people who ain't got no job?
You know, that's a tremendously good question, and it should be, you know, the city fathers, aldermen, the people that are supposed to help bring stuff to communities and, you know, appropriate things. They should have a list of other businesses that, you know, have. I can't believe that tons of businesses are boycotting Chicago just because they're neighborhoods where they think there's no money to be made or that nobody's going to buy anything. You know, and that's my point. This is a big thorny issue that can't just be answered by saying, well, Walmart's the only one that's coming in there, let's get some jobs. Because for every job Walmart provides, you know, the other jobs are lost in the surrounding area as businesses go under.
It sounds ridiculous if they have
Senor Roberto.
Yeah, Andy, in this book, The Great Motivation Secrets of the Great Leaders by John Baldani, he talks about Sam Walton being one of the first guys to introduce employee stock ownership programs in the United States.
That's bullshit.
As a result,
that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
Thousands of Walmart employees became millionaires. Thousands of them.
You ever heard of Sears Roebuck?
What would you say? Well, that doesn't sound to me. That doesn't sound to me like a company that's out to destroy the middle class.
Can you ask a question, please?
Yeah. How do you respond to that?
How do you respond to the fact that, according to Bob?
No, according to John Baldoni.
According to John Baldoni, one of the first companies to offer.
That's crazy.
Walmart just started the goddamn company.
Thousands of millionaires, most of which were women.
Once again, Bob has given us another thought-provoking question. If you can't identify a few thousand employees that got rich off of stock options, that was early on in the building of Walmart, much like early on in the building of Amway's pyramid. There's a few people at the top of the pyramid that are lottery winners, and there's hundreds of thousands of people at the bottom that are suffering daily without any kind of living wage job. So I'm saying I think your figures on the outset are totally bogus, but if they're true, it's not happening now. There's no evidence that I've seen or heard of, even pro-con. I have not read any evidence showing that people are making money, employees are making money owning Walmart stock. The average employee doesn't have enough money for gas and get back and forth to his job, much less buy any stock.
So you're not denying that Walmart made thousands of millionaires when they
Walmart's a multi-billion.
Profit sharing's been around since 1990.
But that's not what we're talking about here tonight. We're talking about whether or not Chicago will get jobs. Don't throw that herring in, Bob. Let's stick to the
Sam Walton invented profit
Anyone
sharing.
not had a question yet and wants to ask a
Invented
question?
gravity, too.
Rebuttals.
Okay, so we're about to move on to rebuttals. Do you have one more question to ask?
Sam Walton created the earth in 7 days.
For Andy, one of his sticking points is the fact that the Walmart comes into a community, mom and pop stores close, and you said one job it creates, you lose 2 or 3 jobs. How do you justify, or how do you justify to the people in the area where there are no mom and pop stores, where there is no businesses in danger of being put out of business? How do you justify to those people and tell them?
How can you say that? How can you say that Walmart destroys jobs when they're bringing jobs to an area which has no mom and pop stores, has no jobs to begin with, and no one to put out of business?
Okay, let's say the short answer is, if you look at just the raw economics, if there's, in your area, there's a dead area, there's no mom and pop stores there, so people are going a few blocks in any direction, they're buying their groceries, liquor, cigarettes, whatever it is, they're buying their stuff, whatever it is, from a whole bunch of stores surrounding that area, right? As soon as Walmart plumps their store down there, boom, it's like dropping a small atomic bomb that spreads radiation out into all those stores where people are. Well, if there's no stores, those people aren't just sitting there breathing air and not eating or drinking or doing anything. They're getting all of their supplies from somewhere. That's the point I'm trying to make. It'll be more convenient initially for the people that live closer to this big shiny new store. Well, it may not be wrong for those people, but it's going to devastate all the businesses that have been supplying them, all the things they've been buying up until now. You have to look at the total demographics.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the 2 speakers. They were fabulous. And you can now sit down. We are having a rebuttal period. So we're Paul will be the first to have a rebuttal. You take a seat.
Karina, times and how many? Go 3 minutes.
3 minutes a person. How many people want to have a rebuttal?
What time are you going to cut it off?
We're going to cut off rebuttals at exactly 10:45 to allow both of our speakers adequate time to rebut the rebutters.
How much
We're keeping
time?
it at 3 minutes apiece so that we can allow everybody who wants to rebut to rebut.
I get 4 minutes.
Well,
You had a rebut before, yeah, okay. It doesn't seem like there's many rebutters, so.
so you want to go to 4 minutes? That's
Yeah,
fine
4
by me.
minutes a person, but we're gonna slam down hard.
All right.
When you're done, you're done.
There'll be a green light at 3, a yellow light at 3.5, and a red light at 4. At 4 minutes, you're cut off.
Tim, this microphone is fabulous.
Okay. You can thank Andy for that microphone.
You only make minimum wage, but you can invest there and be a millionaire.
I wanted to be first on this discussion because I have the facts. My beloved soon-to-be ex-wife has worked for Walmart for 7 years.
Soon to be ex-wife.
Yes.
Why?
Why? I don't know. Ask her. She's the one who moved out.
You couldn't get rid of her.
She just barely is making $11 an hour now. The insurance, $75 per check, $150 per month, $2,500 deductible. They do give a nice match on the HSA account, but you know that only goes so far when they don't cover things like optical or chiropractic and a bunch of other things that people need. $11 an hour is what she's earning. She said it increased $11 or went down or whatever.
One full at a time. Please continue.
When the union was going to talk, when there were union reps sneaking around her store, the store had a meeting telling them exactly how to deal with the union reps. They do not want unions.
Good for them.
To be guaranteed full-time hours, she has to be available to work whenever the store is open. If she limits her availability too much, they'll cut her hours.
Yeah, that sucks.
And as Andy mentioned, I've been on her for years to try and find a better job, but she insists on staying there. Well, I'm established there, I have benefits there, etc., etc. Personally, I'm unemployed. I'm the proud owner of a failed business. I work in the computer industry, so I know all about things coming from over the big puddle on the left side of our country. I couldn't afford to work for $8 an hour because with all the debt I had, all the debt collectors would garnish my wages and take away all my pay if I was working for $8 an hour. Walmart did have self-checkouts for a while. Why they stopped, I don't know, because that's a profit maker. You have one person watching 4 checkout lanes. I always thought I should have got a discount for using a self-checkout because I'm paying someone to check out my groceries. To my account, why they stopped was because the machines seldom worked. They probably didn't want to put the money into keeping them running properly. Stores like the Jewel and such have a successful checkouts because they've worked with it and changed the programming and things to make it work better. One thing to say to Robert and Mac, Sam Walton is dead. His kids do not run the business the way Sam Walton ran the business.
Right.
And they no longer have an employee stock ownership program. That ended about 5 years ago.
Truth comes out.
About 80 years ago, Ludwig von Mises issued a theory that you cannot have socialism, you cannot have an economy without a market mechanism. And I think that's kind of what we've proven here tonight. There really isn't anything of a market mechanism here that I can see. At least a market mechanism that compares costs and benefits, which is not what happens here. We get the explanation that we have all these applicants for low-wage jobs because so many people are out of work. Well, how come so many people are out of work? Because of unions. The union. Everybody loves to hire unions.
They moved the job to China.
Yeah, well, why'd they move the job to China? Because of unions. But you know, you just can't keep raising your prices all the time. Somewhere along the line, you have to realize that a market price creates an equal number of buyers and sellers.
I don't want to work.
And that's what you guys, you want a whole lot of sellers and not too many buyers. But there has to be some type of, you know, supply and demand curve meeting. Which is what you guys, you know, there's just nothing like that here tonight. And I don't think it's going to be years before this gets straightened out. In the meantime, if you want to open up another front, it's a book I just checked out. I read this several years ago, and I just checked it out of the library this afternoon. It's called Big Box Swindle by Stacy Mitchell. And she says this big box stores, it's not just that they have these big boxes, but they use very wasteful land values, very wasteful land use, and force people to drive, and there's a bunch of things in here that are pretty interesting. I mean, I haven't read this in years, and I'm reading it with new eyes right now, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But there is one other copy in the library. I just found it this afternoon. I had to look around for it. But this is a very, you know, like you guys are always hollering, give me what I want. Ball baby, a bunch of ball babies is what you are. Oh. Yeah, that's what you are. Bunch of ball babies. You gotta accommodate. I mean, Friedrich Engels wrote that two men trying to exchange are trying to cheat each other. That's exactly what you guys are. You're trying to cheat them, and they're trying to cheat you.
Trying to cheat all of you. Sam Wolf.
First of all, I would recommend the film Inside Job. I saw it on Wednesday. I thought it was superb. I'm going to get it on DVD when it comes out and give at least one copy to my local library. I want to go on to something that Michele said, which I agree with. There's huge numbers of people who are centered on saving money, meaning they don't have much, and jobs, trying to get a job. I would put it that in the title of an essay I read many years ago that was written in the Depression, The Luxury of Integrity by Stuart Chase. People are desperate. They cannot afford to even be objective. And it hasn't always been like this. I came up at a different time. Give me myself as an example. I had a job for 34.5 years. I have a pension, I've got dental care, and I have health care. I am not the brightest bulb in the universe. That's for sure.
Yes, you are.
But you know, I'm a common average guy. But in my time, I'm a dinosaur now, but in my time there were huge numbers of people like me. But what has our country come to? We can't provide jobs for our people. What is wrong with this system? I think we ought to think about that real carefully. I think it could be just the opposite the way it is now, but we'd have to fight for that. Thank you.
Get in the race to the bottom.
Gene Horcher says that he's a common average guy. We need a whole lot more common average guys like Gene Horcher.
Yeah.
Bill once says, we're always saying, give me what I want. Well, we're supposed to say, give me what I don't want? No.
Well, anyway.
You're all average.
I'm sorry, but, you know, if you study a little bit of the tendencies of capitalism and the so-called free market, or any the capitalist market, which isn't that free or equal or anything like that, you see that there is a tendency for combination and concentration and bigness to develop in the capital markets. What do you expect out of retail markets? They're going to concentrate and combine, and then they're going to put the squeeze. What are we paying in taxes on our food? You know, if 51% of Walmart's market are groceries, they're taxed at over 10% in just local taxes. You know, why wouldn't a municipality, well, are there, as Walter has pointed out, a large number of communities who, well, look, they make messes, those big outfits. They attract a lot of customers. Yes, that's profitable, and profitable in taxes too, local taxes. But they also create traffic jams.
Oh boy.
They have to have these big parking lots. There are all sorts of police issues. And so, yeah, there are costs. And not every municipality is going to find them convivial. All right? But arguing that they don't pay enough, yes, when you have a reserve army of the unemployed because the market doesn't serve, and the capitalist economy doesn't create the jobs or spread the wealth, then maybe you have to change the system.
Yes.
And not just complain about the symptoms.
After listening to the presentation on Walmart tonight, first of all, there's one correction I'd like to make here. We heard some talk about wagons being made by American Flyer. Actually, those are Radio Flyer wagons. Now, after listening to the comments that were made tonight about, about Walmart, I have to conclude they have a propaganda machine equal to that of Joseph Goebbels or Stalin at their worst. I have seldom heard of a more abusive company than Walmart in terms of the horrible way it treats its workers, in terms of the substandard salaries that they pay, in terms of the lack of benefits, including the lack of health benefits. And when these people have the effrontery or the temerity to dare to organize to protest the conditions under which they have to labor, Walmart just closes the store and says, we're not going to negotiate with any unions. I'm sorry if some people think that that makes us ball babies or union heads, but I'm sorry, I'm not an admirer of the theories of the economist Ludwig van Mises. Did he invent the German measles by chance? The effects that Walmart has on other businesses, smaller size, and also the Jewels and the Dominics, those have already been discussed and are too well known for me to have to repeat here. There has to be another and a better way found to provide jobs in neighborhoods which I know which need them badly. Walmart's not the way to go with their crummy salaries that are not even enough to cover the fixed costs of everyday life, which we talked about earlier. The whole reason why business is fleeing to China and elsewhere is simply because there are no unions there to protect workers, and as a result, they can get away with bloody murder and paying them practically nothing. That's exactly right. When Harry Truman was a U.S. Senator years ago, on the floor of the U.S. Senate, and we heard earlier Brown talking about too many unnecessary receiverships and this kind of thing, Harry Truman eventually said, well, if you pile this stuff on so there's only so much people will tolerate, well, Mr. President, he was addressing the President of the Senate, we are building a Tower of Babel. Finally, I will say this. The only thing that I can think of to say about Wal-Mart is that it has a stranglehold on our economy. It's become a monopoly. And what I'm in favor of the government doing here is two things. One, bringing an antitrust action against Wal-Mart to split up in two or three competing companies. And second, take the people who live in Bentonville, Arkansas, these vampires who are bleeding America white, bleeding America dry, and I'm all in favor of slapping these people with an increased income tax and bringing the income tax level for that class of workers back to the same level where it was under Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman.
Yeah.
Well, I've been receiving emails and newsletters and stuff like that from time to time about Wal-Mart for the past several years, and people organizing against them. And well, I found myself when I was staying within a few blocks of a Wal-Mart. Well, I did do some shopping there, but since then, so maybe I'm not the most hardcore anti-Wal-Mart person around, but still in all, to hear of what the gentleman in the back was reciting about that anti-discrimination lawsuit and that type of issue, and the hardball against union organizing, and I don't see why if retailers can make their contractual arrangements with suppliers, why can't workers organize and do their own more forceful bargaining with their employers. So even though in the store, I mean, not all the workers or management there had, like, horns on their head or anything, and maybe there's something to be said about them there, for the plus. But I think a lot of people in the American public just sort of recoil, at when they look at the overall picture that the whole thing smacks of monopolism at a certain point, just a giant too much taking over their space in the economic framework, and the worker issues that go unresolved. And so as somehow, some way, trillions of dollars materialize or emerge from a computer at the Federal Reserve or a printing press there or something and get sent out to bail out Wall Street firms, as we look at some of the communities that are in a tight spot that don't have enough economic development, I figure if we can bail out all of that, I mean, why should we leave these big parts of Chicago and other places, with no economic prospects going forward, and then say, oh, the only option is Wal-Mart. Somehow, even though, advocates can make some good points, I can find some, good merchandise there or whatever, but, I think somehow we need to be able to do better than to just find ourselves in a untenable choice of either just Wal-Mart or nothing. That can't be sustainable.
Wal-Mart or nothing.
Right. A big problem. I can hardly read my own handwriting, but I'll try anyway. Why should Wal-Mart be kept out of Chicago? Well, it should for many good reasons, such as Wal-Mart driving viable established businesses out of business and the resultant loss of well-compensated jobs. DePaul and UIC surveys prove that the West Side Walmart caused the loss of more than 300 good jobs. And speaking of that Walmart, go over there if you're brave enough and see the dope dealing in its parking lot. And if you go there, see how nasty the Walmart so-called associates will treat you. Just as nasty as the parking lot dope dealers. Walmart is known for its crime. Oh, by the way, I've been there, done that. I've been over there. Walmart is known for its crime-ridden parking lots nationwide. Security is lax, although there are all kinds of spy cameras within their stores to thwart union organizing. When Walmart arrived, surrounding property values declined, and whenever Walmart pulls out, as it did in Cathedral City, California, for example, property values really take a plunge. Walmart leaves behind great big eyesore hulks that are unrentable. Walmart has wiped out many a small-town business district with devastating effects to the nearby residential neighborhoods. Who needs a company that exploits workers? Walmart is a notorious violator of labor laws. It also is very dishonest about the merchandise it peddles. It's been caught several times passing off foreign manufactured goods as American-made. Thanks to Walmart, American retail wages are depressed by more than $3 billion yearly. But the most egregious exploitation is of third world country workers and Chinese workers who are paid a lousy 15 cents an hour and work from 8 in the morning until 10 at night. Most of the work locations are nothing but old-fashioned sweatshops. And you can find plenty of Walmart sweatshops in the Western Hemisphere too. Here in the U.S., Walmart stores are understaffed and employees are exploited by the fear of job loss. Yup, go to Walmart and save a little money, but in the long run, we are all paying for Walmart's underpaid employees who are directed by Walmart to seek public aid, such as food stamps. Our mayor, the mayor whose top aides have 49 indictments hanging over them, is all for Walmart. Walmart is as good for Chicagoans as Daley's parking meter deal was. It's too bad Daley and the aldermen, some of whom have profited in the construction arrangements of the Walmart store, should have been looking out for the best interest of small business. It seems Daley and Company only hands out tax breaks and infrastructure improvements to big business. Social justice is something Walmart doesn't care about, and that's why it's getting a free ride, basically. It exploits everyone, manufacturers, employees, and municipalities. It also exploits consumers who end up paying welfare costs for Walmart associates. Until Walmart cleans up its act substantially and stops being so aggressively anti-union so as to prevent free collective bargaining for employees, it should stay the hell out of Chicago.
Why do you hate our mayor? He's doing a good job.
Perhaps the single most significant word tonight to refer to both what was said here and what was not said here is the word alternatives. I asked two questions tonight. The first was about what alternatives there were to Wal-Mart under what conditions in the goods in question. And the second was about a movie, Inside Job. Now, it's cool to hear that Gene has taken the trouble to see it, and he indicated he had too, and of course I know Karina has. But I'm going to ask all of you, how many of you, please raise your hand, how many of you have heard of the movie before tonight? All right, it's looking like maybe a shade above half the room, some such. Well, Dave Singer asked a question about the possibilities of the American people rising up against the conditions which are, it seems to me, being more or less systematically ginned up, which leave the American people with virtually no alternative but to work in places like Walmart. Well, Dave, here, all right, maybe a shade above half the folks have heard of the movie. And this, a well-educated by national standards room, right? Well, I tell you what, if you ever get, if it ever becomes the case that more than half of the American people have seen the movie, then maybe you got some. All right, because what the movie does is talks about how policies instituted over a 30-year period more or less systematically destroyed the American economy, or a whole lot of it. It conceded that supposedly we're in a recovery. Well, I can understand why they dodged that one. We're in no such thing, folks. The books are being cut. Okay. So, yeah, the reason why folks feel they have to settle for Wal-Mart is because there's no place else left. Because the financial system has been devouring virtually everything else. That's where things are, and that's why, for starters, you must see them. Okay, now there's a whole bunch of other stuff, such as the complicity of not only the politicians, but also the academics. All right? But here we are tonight in a situation where we've got better than average educated folks, and yet nobody knew, I guess, because the media didn't tell any of us, I guess, what the alternatives were, what the offers have been made to Jewel and Costco and the various other outfits that Andy rattled off. Well, you know, if you want to stack the deck of debate, folks, and I'm not talking about you folks here, I'm talking about Murdoch and all the folks who run these media outfits, yeah, you present Wal-Mart or nothing. And you present it both in terms of what people hear on the media and in terms of what people see as to their actual physical options. Well, you know, welcome to the land of spurious dichotomies. All right? Because that's what this joint is becoming. And the ultimate result, unless more than 50% of the folks see that movie or otherwise become, so to speak, enlightened, the ultimate result is liable to be where a tiny handful of people own not merely everything, but also everyone. Warren Buffett famously said, there is a class war going on and we are winning. The we, I assume, would not be referring to anybody in this room, except possibly to some small scintilla of me. I've actually got a tiny fraction of what he's got. I'll bet none of you here even got that. Well, my concern is that when all of you folks got empty bellies, you just won't have no alternative but to come to joints like mine and try to pillage whatever you can to feed your faces. Because these politicians and academics and journalists all played the game of systematically milking the American middle class to the point where the only thing they have left to eat is each other.
I think you guys are forgetting the most obvious reason why there's no shopping in these underdeveloped communities or areas of blight. And that is probably because of the Chicago political machine called the local zoning board. I go out to the suburbs and I go down a place like Randall Road in McHenry County. I see Jewel, I see Dominic's, I see Wal-Mart, I see Myers. And you know something about it? It's easier for them to start out there than it is in the city of Chicago. And I think one of the things that you might want to really consider is why there has to be so much infighting to open up a store in these blighted areas. If Jewel or Dominic's wanted to come in and had to go through the suggestive political club that Wal-Mart did to open one stinking store, it's no wonder they're not there. It might just be that the very governmental structures that you're trying to, quote-unquote, get a living wage for is the very force that's preventing the market from succeeding. And let me tell you something else. You know, our local businesses down there, are they really so great that you have it? Some of these food-blighted areas, a local liquor store with big things. I don't think that a lot of these areas are served well at all. And if a Wal-Mart can come in with a big super center and they save a few miles to drive, so be it. I think it's a good thing. As far as their low-cost wages and everything else is, I think our speaker has a point. People go to where they can get a bargain, and they go to places that they reasonably can trust. And the thing is, without trust, a corporation goes down fast. Look at our American automakers. They say, oh, we've been making cars. Well, people didn't want to buy them. They're in trouble. Now they're finally listening to the consumers, and they're starting to get profitable again. It's called capitalism. You get a job, you get a skill, you train for that job. And like it or not, there is something called globalization that has been impacting the world for the last 35 to 40 years. Changes in the air, technology, services, everything else is coming forward. You either change or you don't. And if you don't get the jobs. That's the bottom line.
Someday we'll be
First of all, I live in Evergreen Park, which is right, the very first suburb south of Chicago. And we got the first Wal-Mart in Chicagoland. And before, a long time ago in the 60s, late 60s, Evergreen Plaza was the very first mall that was ever built in the whole United States. Evergreen Plaza. Okay?
No.
Yeah, it was. It was the very first plaza that was ever, first mall that was ever built. And otherwise, if I lived on the south side and South Shore in the late 60s, early 70s, and you either had to go to Evergreen Plaza to shop or you went downtown to shop. Because there was grocery stores in the community and there were little stores, but there was no big stores to go. So you had to go there. Well, being I live in Evergreen, that plaza has helped my property taxes, to keep my property taxes down. But since Wal-Mart has come in, we don't have hardly a plaza at all. There's only like really one store in all the plaza now, and that's Parsons. Everything is just about gone out of that store since Wal-Mart came in. It really has. There's the whole mall it's going to go. Eventually, it's going to go. So. But also, the city of Evergreen got $2 million in incentives, TIFs, from Wal-Mart. Okay? And we had friends that came from China, who was a mayor of a city in China. And we talked to her about Wal-Mart being there. They only make anywhere from 20 to 24 cents an hour, the employees there. In China, and they work in Wal-Mart. They live in Wal-Mart. They have rooms that they rent to them, and they pay Wal-Mart to live there. And they're like bunk beds. They can't even eat in their rooms. They can't cook in their rooms. So they're constantly. How can you live on 22, 24 cents an hour? You know, I mean, here, you know, $10. I mean, I'm with an organization, it's a non-for-profit organization in Beverly Morgan Park area for 16 years that helped the homeless. And we have a lady who's 60 years old. She used to work for Motorola. That's no longer, you know, and she only makes $10 an hour. She's a library security guard. She's taking care of her nephew. She goes to try to get, well, you were talking about getting food stamps. She makes too much. She's $10 over the limit. She can't even get food stamps. I mean, and we have a board member who works for Sam's Club who will not get anybody a job there because you can't live. Working with the homeless, you see, they do not make a living wage. At Walmart, you can't. And, you know, as Americans, we have done this to ourselves. Because all we want is the lowest price and the lowest everything, and we want the most of everything. And if you looked at the Walmart ads for Thanksgiving this week for the Black Friday, you could get a rival crock pot for $2.97. $2.97. Whose rival has to pay their employees? How do they pay their employees on $2.97 for a crock pot?
Time.
So you're paying China 22 cents.
Yeah,
And Rand is on the stage.
No. We got 4 minutes like everybody else. We can go over a few minutes. We'll be okay with Mary. Make a big crowd like this. I want to thank Michelle.
You took up time before. Now you got 2
I didn't take up time before. I asked my questions like anybody else, and I'm getting back to you. Well, I wanted to drag on. I want to thank Michelle for her excellent preparation. And
that's why it's the same attitude that just started Walmart.
I don't know if you have strong economic footing and background, but
the same attitude as the American consumer.
Now, first of all, the gentleman sitting back there next to Charlie that thought, what's wrong with unions having contracts with Walmart if Walmart has contracts with its suppliers? Well, the difference is that the contracts Walmart has with its suppliers are voluntary. Each side is voluntary. When you have a contract with a union, it's a force. It's the state threatened violence. It says you have to negotiate with this company.
No,
you have to negotiate, or we'll send arbitrators in and force you to accept an agreement. So that's the difference. It's one of free choice versus forced choice, which is state planning, economic planning, which is totalitarianism. I highly recommend everybody here to read The Road to Serfdom by F.A. Hayek. There's a bunch of socialist economic planning. When choice is taken away from the consumer and made by the government, there's a choice taken away from you. That is totalitarianism, my friends. And it makes no difference what you call it. Socialism, Nazism, communism, Marxism. It's all the same thing. It's all capitalism. Those all have in common.
Communism.
They all have economic planning in common. They take away your individual free choice.
Your freedom.
Now, you're free. If they go to Walmart, you are free to go to Walmart, or you're free to go to a mom and pop shop.
Right. That's not there.
Now, by the way, the article that I mentioned that showed Walmart's prices being about 25 or 26% lower than Jewel's and Dominic's was from a Credit Suisse study done in January of 2009, and it was quoted in the Chicago Tribune. If you look up Credit Suisse, January 2009, all that, you'll see that. Another thing I'm going to make a quick mention of here, trade is not just something that's been going on for 35 years. Trade is something that's been going on for thousands of years. I highly recommend reading A Splendid Exchange, How Trade Shaped the World by William Bernstein. And what you'll see in here is that global trade, we've been on a continuous trend, a timeline, back thousands of years from when, they were trading, from Egypt, in Greece and Italy, around the Mediterranean, and boats in the Red Sea and all that. And it's just been going on. It's been getting bigger and bigger. We've had revolutions in transportation, etc., that's made prices lower, easier to trade. And what's happening? Things shift. The capital goes to where it's gets the highest interest rates. Labor goes to where it gets the
No, that's it.
A couple other things.
No, you're done, buddy.
All right.
Go on our website. We can the College Complex's Yahoo group, and we can talk about this more right.
Hi, I'm Rhonda. I only have 2 things to say. The first is I was told by people at the table that I was sitting at that the Huffington Post reported that Walmart was given $20 million for these Walmarts. The second is I just want to point out that tax on food, whatever constitutes food, is 2%, not 10%. Thank you.
All right,
It's time for the speakers to take the last word. And Andy, if you're ready, come on up. You want to go first? Come on up and let's go.
Free collective bargaining, mediation, arbitration, violence.
Actually,
only the companies support violence.
I have no rebuttals. I mean, everyone was entitled to, the statements that they've made and their opinions and their perspectives. I've actually learned quite a bit this evening, so I'll take a closer look. at Walmart. I still stand by the whole jobs and savings, but I'll pay much more closer attention to the overall impact instead of the narrow-mindedness that I've been in terms of how those jobs and those savings affect the individuals. What does it mean to the masses? So I will pay closer attention to that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Andy. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Michelle, especially, and all of you that I assume this is your first trip to the College of Complexes. As you can see, it gets a little ragged when we're approaching 11 o'clock because they start flashing the lights on and off here to kick us out at about 5 after. I only have a couple of things. One, as you can see, it's a giant learning experience for everybody. When Jeff mentioned, he said, how many people have seen the movie Inside Job, right? Everybody should see it some way because it describes how rich people, the billionaires, the predatory billionaires, have just been robbing us blind for the last 30 years. This didn't all happen overnight. This didn't crop up on us in a couple of weeks or 2 years, and you know, they're blaming the current recession on President Obama when it was all expertly done by the last 28 years of criminals masquerading as Republicans. And we as a society have not come to face that yet, although we got a lot of criminals masquerading as Democrats too. And I would like, I've said before, I'd like to see the Congress divided up between criminals and non-criminals, not between Democrats and Republicans. But you know, I think that if we, there's, I don't have any literature on it yet because it's brand new. There's a website that is formed. It's a global transformation program called the Venus Project, and you can find it on the website called Zeitgeist. They're talking about changing the way we do business with local communities, states, countries, that we recognize that everybody has a right to a place to live. Everybody has the right to a decent amount of food. Just because the world produces enough food for everybody, but 900 million people or whatever it is, almost 1 billion people don't have enough food every day because we allow rich billionaires to run the monetary system. And the system what we have is run by billionaires, and the billionaires that own the Federal Reserve. Jeff has talked about that before. For those of you that are interested that have a computer, I would highly recommend logging on to some of these sites, the portal websites that describe what's happening day by day by day, what's being blacked out by the mainstream media in this country. You know, if we had a fully functioning mainstream media, this debate would seem as obsolete as the debate over whether the earth is flat or round. Once everybody knows what all the evidence is, then you know we have the same values, we have the same concerns for the less fortunate among us that need a job, need a place to live. But we're not addressing the core issue of why did so many people need a job? Where 40 years ago you could come out of school, anybody that was able-bodied, they say, well, I've got 2 good hands, I can go to work, get a job, I can support myself. You know, that kind of economy doesn't exist in America today. And it allows predators like Wal-Mart to dangle a few thousand jobs. What's 12,000 jobs, temporary jobs, going to do in a city of 3 or 4 or 5 million people, right? It's a fraction, a tiny fraction of 1% of what needs to be addressed in Chicago. That's my point, and all over, nationwide. So there's
there's a tremendous amount of good things happening in other communities as people are taking back control of their communities. They're forming credit unions. They're helping people get jobs. They're forming, living wage jobs of all kinds, startup businesses. It's a revolution going on all over the country and all over the world, but not a peep of it ever seeps through in the Chicago media. The mainstream media cover rape, robbery, murder, train wreck, and plane crash. One of those five, other than the brand circuses of the Chicago Bears and the Chicago Bulls, I'm a Bulls fan. I enjoyed watching the Bulls when Michael and Scotty were there. But at any rate, we need, the knowledge, beneficial knowledge on certain subjects only spreads from person to person with people talking to each other. It's not in the news, it's not in the radio, it's not in television, it's not in the Chicago newspaper. If you want to find out about good things that are going on all over the world, you have to look at portal websites that post the best of stuff published all over the place every day. And there's a bunch of good stuff going on. And I hope that someday we will have a debate here or a discussion on why the American press is not covering the fact that the World Health Organization put out a report 2 years ago in November that the AIDS epidemic is over. That HIV is not the cause, other things are. That's a big shock to people in America because it's not covered in the press. And Charlie doesn't want to have any presentation on that here, but presentations are going on all over the world. Lives are being saved everywhere as people are finding out why they got sick, what they do to get cured. So, anyway, if anybody's interested, come see me afterwards. I've got some copies of literature, and we can help you. Thank you all for coming, and thank Michelle. She did a tremendous job.
Let's have one more round for our speakers, Andy and Michelle. Let's thank Paul, our camera guy, and especially Karina for moderating tonight. This college session is now closed.